All right. How's it going, guys? Yeah, apologies for the delay. We weren't able to plan for this, but Artur will definitely be pulling up. So we just need a little bit of extra time before we get the stream started. So for those who are just coming into the VOD now, I'm assuming this VOD is gonna have to be time-stamped into I guess a couple halves, because we got a little bit of a delay on the start of the stream. Artur's not able to pull up right this moment, but that's totally okay. Gonna give him a little bit extra time, and then in the meantime, while we're waiting, we're gonna just hang out here, and I'm gonna, I don't know, maybe watch a theory or something. Maybe we review a theory video in the meantime. Maybe we watch one of Artur's theories, and then it's like he's spiritually here with us anyway. Maybe that's the way we do it. I don't know. You guys tell me. I'm also realizing my mic's probably very quiet. Is that better? All right. Well, hopefully you guys heard all that, because I'm not going to repeat it. Hold on. There we go. But yeah, let's do that. I think we should pull up like one of his videos or something, and then we can let Artur, you know, I think he's got to finish eating the devil fruit right now, or he's got to finish training his haki. He's gonna come in and he's gonna throw some haki blasts at us. So I think it'll be worth the wait, and we're gonna build up to it. We get a little fanfare, a little build up, little suspense to when the legend arrives. I love democracy. What's up, everyone? I see a lot of familiar faces here. Big shout outs to Tainted Marth. I was just watching a theory of his. Very interesting stuff. What's up, Delcor? Doc Brown, how's it going? Doron, my guy. Kagar, how's it going, guys? How's it going, everyone? Reverse, the man, the myth, the legend. He says Artur cooking up his haki. Doc Brown says, got my double shot coffee. Let's do this, bro. Hell yeah, man. Let's do it. I'm excited. I'm excited because when I came up with the Conqueror's Clash idea, one of the first, and I'm probably gonna have to tell him this when he gets on the stream. One of the first people I thought of for who would like really like this idea was Artur, because it's like such a series spanning collab, I guess, format. I don't know how to describe it. It's a series spanning format. You get to answer questions about like everything, about like theories, about your favorite characters, about you know, would you rather, agree or disagree. Like it covers everything, and for a guy with as much knowledge as him about One Piece, it's like right up his alley. So I've been meaning to get him on here, and I'm glad that he's agreed to it. So it's gonna be really fun. I'm very excited for this one. What's up, guys? So many members in here. All the hidden members in the stream. That's so awesome. That's a beautiful sight, I gotta say. The emojis getting dropped in the chat for all my members out there. You gotta make use of those. Those are primo. That's primo material right there. All right. Let's see. Let's well, there we go. All right. Let's go to youtube.com. All right, Artur. Let's pick one of these. Let's watch one of these. What's up, Harvision? It says I have chat closed, so I don't get spoiled, but we'll try to be here. That's fair. Yeah, so to my moderators that are in the chat today, I don't know how many of you are already caught up on the spoilers or whatever the spoilers that have been dropping. Yeah, I don't know how many of you are caught up on that, but if you guys can be on red alert today, because apparently this is a hot chapter, and spoilers are going to be potentially flying. So if if that happens in the chat, we need mods to be on top of that. So any of my mods out there that are spoiler friendly, that that know what is and what isn't a spoiler, just help me out, help Artur out, help everyone else out who hasn't read the chapter out or hasn't read the chapter yet. And keep an eye on that. And to anyone that is not a mod, please do not post anything about the new chapter in chat, please. It's at this point we all know how it is. It's standard etiquette, right? The hammer will be swung. There's no second chances with spoilers. So Alejandro said, "Pointing hidden. Choose a video." Yeah, I guess my avatar here did choose, but this is One Piece. This is One Piece Odyssey. I mean, I want it to be more about. Here, let's scroll down a little bit and fix that. Dale says I was spoiled, so I know what's up. I think I saw you mention that. That's so whack, man. I'm sorry that people out there are just like going out of their way to spoil you like that. That's unfair. No, Sagittarius, we're not going to talk about that on this stream. I've said my piece. Now, I guess you know what I want to do before we get started on watching this video. I want to quickly double check one thing, because last time, I don't know if you guys remember, and for those that are just pulling up and that are wondering what's going on with the stream, Artur needs a little bit extra time to pull up, so we're going to kill some time before he gets here and watch one of his videos. So he's still here with us in a way. So we'll kind of build up to the arrival. But yeah, it'll be like another 30 minutes or so, hopefully. So we got time to hang out, answer some questions, all that. All right, yeah, so what was I going to say? Let me test this out. Can I test something out, guys? I'm going to switch to the Conqueror's Clash format that we have here. I want to see if chat works, because last time we had Morge on the stream, the chat wasn't working. Okay, so it looks like the chat bubble at the bottom is working now. Great. I promised at the end, I promised in the comment section that we'd have it fixed for the next one, but there's no way to test chat until you're live. So, yeah, there was no way. Oh, well, now it looks like it's a little bit stuck out of the box there. Hold on. That's weird. I don't know what's wrong with the chat, man. The chat widget is so messed up. I guess we're just gonna leave it like that for now. I'll have to adjust the height and shit later. What do I do? Sometimes Streamlabs is like so confusing. Alright, well that's like good enough, right? Can we accept that? I'm sure no one's gonna complain. Wow, hidden, the stream setup's so ugly. The chat's sticking out of the bubble. It's my OCD can't take it. There we go. Alright. Fixed it. Alright. Yeah, sorry, I had to battle the imaginary angry commenter that I fabricated up just for this scenario. Slat Slime says, I read on OP Scans today, but a few days ago someone's spoilers video title spoiled it for me. Someone put the spoilers in the video title for 1079? Wow. That's insane. And that was days before the actual scans dropped? That's insane. That's insane. Look, man. Hey, all I'll say is there is a way to do spoiler channels. You can do channels centered around talking about One Piece spoilers. Sai does it. Does a great job with it. He's very responsible about it. You guys are talking about him in the chat. He does a great job. He's super responsible about that stuff. So it's doable. Just don't put it in the title. All right. Where was I? I keep getting sidetracked. Let's pull up one of these videos. All right. I actually haven't watched. Maybe it's good to talk about the Pin Zoro stuff. I don't think we've ever talked about Zoro's family tree. I had a big tweet. I had a tweet. My second biggest tweet ever was talking about this family fucking tree here, and that's something I realize now. I made a whole big shit about it on Twitter, and I didn't talk to you guys on stream about this really. But it basically ties into the Zoro video that I made, where it's like I personally feel like we didn't really need the direct family tree. It's not a big deal that we got it in SBS. I think Zoro's family is not core to his character like it is with Sanji. Sanji's family is a big part of his character and why he is the way he is. But Zoro's relationship mostly has to do with Quina more than anything else. It's his direct relationship with Quina, and then, you know, later on his relationship with Mihawk, right? Because Sanji doesn't have a Mihawk. He doesn't have that rival that he's striving to defeat. Zoro has that guy. So for him, most of the story is going to be about that. And I think whatever backstory and insight we're going to get into Zoro's past is going to come from the Mihawk fight. Whenever Zoro and Mihawk finally do have their fight, I think that's when we're going to get the flashback into Zoro's most inner repressed memories from his childhood, right? Remember the first time that Zoro and Mihawk fought? Halfway into the fight, Zoro was like visualizing his own defeat, and he was thinking, I have to win this. I have to win this. It's life or death here. And in that moment, we cut back to the Quina memory. And I think something similar is going to happen when they finally fight again. And that's when we're going to get the insight into Zoro's childhood and stuff. I don't think it needed to happen in Wano. And to be honest, if it did happen, it would be cool. But like, if it's just one of those things where I'm not gonna get upset about it because Zoro doesn't happen to be related, to some like important character in the story, so much so that it would be mentioned in the dialogue. Like, no one knows who the fuck Pin Zoro is. No one knows who any of these people are. They're all just like randoms in East Blue. If they don't have any bearing on other characters, it's not the end of the world if they don't get mentioned or brought up directly in the story. That's the way I feel. So with that being said, I'm curious to hear what Artur has to say about this, because this was a hot topic for a solid break week. Sorry, I use like I have a bunch of dice. I don't know if you guys ever hear this on streams. I have a bunch of dice I use as like a fidget thing when I'm like talking or whatever. It makes noise. I forget that makes noise. My bad. All right. So yeah, what was I gonna say? I want to hear his thoughts on this. This was a hot button topic or a hot button issue for like a solid week or two. So let's visit this together.
In the latest SBS, Oda revealed Zoro's.
There we go. Let's do that. All right. Let's get it. So let's peep. Oda revealed Zoro's backstory secret, but it was lost in translation.
Official family tree. But while you may have already seen it floating online, what you may have missed is the real meaning of the etymology of Zoro's family members, the secrets that the meanings of those names hold, and how that connects with the lore of the Wano country, and even gives us a major hint about the identity of the three ancient weapons, believe it or not. This may sound confusing, but allow me to explain it for you. So yo,
welcome to VIP, Lord Vegeta. Appreciate it, man.
By Oda and translated by me. As it was explained in a previous SBS, Shimotsuki Kozaburo was a swordsmith from the Wano country who crafted both the blades Wado Ichimonji and Enma. Enma was gifted to a young Oden for his 4th anniversary, whereas Kozaburo kept the Wado Ichimonji with himself. Then 55 years ago, he illegally left Wano to set sail, joining a group of a total of 25 people to see the outside world. Among those people was Shimotsuki Furiko, the older sister of Shimotsuki Ushimaru, these being the former daimyo of Ringo and the guy who met a young Yamato and called himself so-and-so, if you remember him. This ship of 25 people sailing from Wano arrived in the East Blue, and they liberated a group of people there that had their village ravaged by bandits. 10 of the 25 people from that expedition decided to stay behind and settle a home in that place, where they rebuilt the village anew, this time under the name of Shimotsuki Village. This group included Kozaburo and Furiko, who fell in love with two of the locals. Kozaburo fell in love with a girl from the town and gave birth to Shimotsuki Koshiro.
I love that this dude's name is Pinzoro. I just can't get over that. That's so fucking... Like, I get it. I just think it's so funny to, like... Because now, like, anytime I think of, like, a hypothetical character... Artur made this joke in, like, the group chat. Anytime there's like a father character in the story now that we don't know the name of yet, I feel like people are just gonna start sticking Pin in front of it and calling it a day. And I just think that's so funny. Like, you see, Artur said, we were talking about Frankie's parents, and he talked about Pin Frankie. And I just find that, like, so great.
Shimotsuki Kuina, Zoro's childhood friend. The Wano Ichimonji was passed down all the way to Kuina and was then given to Zoro and is now one of his swords. Meanwhile, Ushimaru's sister Furiko fell in love with a local swordsman from the village called Roronoa Pinzoro. The two gave birth to Roronoa Arashi, who then fell in love with a young girl called Tera, who was the daughter of thieving bandits. The two, of course, would end up giving birth to Roronoa Zoro, but his father Arashi would die in a battle against pirates, and his mother Tera would pass away due to illness, leaving Zoro orphan and to be raised by the people of the village instead, which then ties directly into his flashback from Shell's Town. So fundamentally, this explains why Ushimaru was compared as being similar to Zoro, because the two are actually related, with Ushimaru being Zoro's great uncle. And since Ushimaru is a confirmed descendant of the legendary samurai Shimotsuki Ryuma, then that makes Furiko, and by extent Zoro himself, direct descendants of Ryuma as well. Whereas Kozaburo, and by extent Kuina, as well as others like Shimotsuki Yasuye, are distant relatives.
Yeah, and I mean, this goes really... What am I... I'm getting some message right now. Oh, I just got hit with a nice big essay in my text messages from a phishing scam. That's epic. I've been getting more and more of these every day. I don't know what's going on, man. These guys are out for me. They wanna be put in. They wanna turn my channel into Tesla. That's what they're trying to make happen. They saw the Twitter exchange and they want to turn me into Tesla now.
Of Zoro being part of the same clan, but not immediate family. I also find it interesting that only 10 of the members of this expedition of 25 stayed behind at Shimotsuki Village, and makes me wonder if some of the other 15 included Shimotsuki who settled elsewhere in the East Blue. This could potentially...
Nastian just says, turn up my own volume. Is my volume low? Can you guys hear me? Just let me know. If it is, I'll change it. Just keep me posted. I can't tell from my end. I can't hear myself, so...
Of Tashigi and Kuina's resemblance, as Tashigi could be the grandkid of a close relative of Kozaburo. It would explain why she's so obsessed with swords if she came from a source...
Oh, shit, she does? Wait a second, I buy that. Because, of course, we can't see it fully, but, I mean, come on. What else could that be?
Family, and would explain her similarities with Kuina as they'd be close relatives. But regardless, the most interesting part of this whole family tree is the etymologies of the name of each of the characters.
I just noticed, I'm sorry. I saw Lord Vegeta sent $10. Thank you, bro. He says, W-Mans, rent a bar, invite guests, and actually have bartender One Piece talk while mixing drinks for content creators. My honest opinion on a way to maximize your image, but I know that's a dream. The funny thing is, I was talking about doing something very similar last stream, but like that's something I was talking about it last stream, how I wanted to actually create a real, you know, hidden island bar one day with like anime themed drinks and stuff. But that's like, you need money to do that. I'm not there yet. I got to focus on the channel, you know? But I do want to make the real thing. That is you know, like, you know how like Luffy has his dream at the end of the adventure? It's not finding the One Piece. There's a dream beyond that. That's my dream at the end of the adventure. Beyond the YouTube thing, that it's the bar. So I do appreciate the idea. We're on the same line of thought there, and I appreciate the $10 as well. Thank you, Vegeta.
On the Roronoa side, things get a lot more interesting as they're all connected in one way to another to traditional
Artur is so quiet. Okay, that's probably because I have the audio mixing. That's probably because my audio mixing is scuffed. Tell me how it is now. Let's do... How about this, guys? Hopefully this will be a little bit more easy to hear. You let me know.
Japanese dice gambling. Pinzoro refers to rolling doubles on a dice, what we call in English snake eyes, whereas arashi refers to rolling triple dices, though it also more literally translates to the Japanese word for storm. Meanwhile, furiko refers to the person in charge of rolling dices for gambling, whereas tera could be derived from terasen, the fee required to partake in a gambling house.
You know what's funny? Didn't Zoro also... Didn't he play dice in Wano? I'm pretty sure there was a whole extended scene even in the anime where he was playing this exact game. That's pretty dope.
It's quite likely that Zoro got his name from his grandfather, which would quite literally simply translate his name to pair, as Pinzoro means a pair of ones, the term for rolling a 2 on a dice. This theme of gambling ties with the whole Japanese Wano heritage, but it perhaps could also relate to the theme with Zoro testing his own luck. This is interesting in and of itself, but what is a lot more fascinating is the name used for Zoro's mother, Tera, because Tera can also refer to the earth itself, and I find this particularly interesting as Sanji's own mother was instead called Sora, which is the Japanese word for sky. Add Jinbei, who is the first son of the sea, and suddenly all 3 commanders in Luffy's crew are connected to the Trinity of Plains. This fits even further as Sanji
I did love this. When I saw this idea come up, I love that. I'm going to put that out there right now. I think that's so cool. That's a really nice little thing. I also like the idea of not even having Jinbei in that dynamic and making Luffy... Like, I saw people saying the thing about Luffy's mom being named, like, Umi or whatever, and then that's the emu thing. I know that's, you know... The Luffy's mom being emu is a little bit of a stretch for me. I mean, and to be honest, if that was actually the case in the story, I'd kind of be a little bit pissed off. But just for the sake of this idea, and my lizard brain likes to see patterns get completed. So when you see the patterns like that, and then you complete it with that little idea, it's satisfying, regardless of how likely it is to happen, you know?
Skywalk. Jinbei fights in the water with Fishman Karate, and Zoro referred to himself as the king.
Can't wait for the reveal I can't wait for the reveal that Luffy's dad's actual name is Pin Dragon.
Or in other words,
or not Pin Luffy, my bad.
Earth below.
Well, his dad would be Pin Dragon, right?
From Greek mythology and philosophy that presents the idea that the world is split into 3 planes. Below lies the underworld, where the Hades or Hell resides, ruled by the god Pluton. In the middle are the seas, ruled by the god Poseidon, and above are the skies, ruled by the god Uranus. Hearing this should suddenly make things a lot more apparent, as these 3 gods are the ones the 3 ancient weapons in One Piece were named after. This ties into the bigger cosmology of the One Piece pantheon of gods we've talked about before. The cosmology of gods of our planetary system is divided into 2. On one hand, due to a lack of technology to spot further planets in ancient times, it was believed the Earth was surrounded by 5 elder planets, or Gorosei in Japanese. So in this case, this old system represents the mother of nature Earth, which could be Imu-sama, and the 5 Gorosei that surround it. But modern science instead proves that the planets revolve around the sun, aka the sun god Nika, and that these also include the planets revolving around the sun, named after the Trinity of Planes, Pluton, Poseidon, and Uranus. Do you see the parallel? This naming system is also reflected in the Japanese names for the planets, as the 5 elder stars are named after the 5 elements of Eastern belief, whereas the 3 furthest planets are named after the Greek planes, being literally called in Japanese the Sky King planet,
shit, that's crazy.
This is
That's crazy.
Because, as we've seen, Shirahoshi is the commander of all Sea Kings, and it would explain why Zoro referred to himself as the King of Hell, the Underworld King, literally Pluton. So what if this is meant to be an intentional parallel, and is Oda's way of indicating that perhaps in the Void Century, the human counterparts to the 3 ancient weapons were actually the 3 commanders of Joy Boy's pirate crew, with now Luffy's own 3 commanders symbolically reflecting that similar trinity.
Hey, yo! You're telling me? Oh, that would be crazy, wouldn't it? Or if they were the children of the ancient weapons, like Poseidon's child, like the first child of Poseidon. I mean, it's probably, that's even, we're now going a layer deeper on this, but I think it's interesting.
Twist of fate. And when you think about it, this actually goes a lot deeper because it ties with the heritage of each respective crew member. Jinbei is from Fishman Island, which is where Poseidon currently resides.
Yes, Dilcor, my fucking goats, Chance Rainey, Atlas 100, and Killer Comedy were going wild with the membership gifting the past couple streams. Especially Chance, he's been going hard on that. So for everyone that has a membership that you see, you guys have them to thank. Absolute legends. Like it's so cool that just to see the wall of the members icons is amazing.
Rizuru
I appreciate you guys.
Now confirmed to be from Wano, where Pluton also resides. So I wonder if maybe Sanji's own heritage ties in some form to Uranus. I find it unlikely that Uranus was tied to Germa, but maybe there's some
no
part of
1079
Sanji
in chat. No 1079. You know what? I'm gonna actually, just to be extra secure, just to have that extra layer of security. You guys see the One Piece rap status starting soon? All right, you got the message. The rap's gonna start soon. No spoilers for 1079. Not to come down on you, Papa Dog Sucker, but so that's quite a name. But I'm not coming down on you for it. I just for everyone that's gonna roll in on the stream from now on, just to make it so that we don't have to stop and answer that. Let's do this. No spoilers for 1079. Let's be a little bit nicer about it. That's a little bit too abrasive. Please? There we go. Hey, there we go. That's a lot nicer and more welcoming. Please don't put spoilers.
History we don't still fully know about, or it has something to do with the Vinsmokes being augmented by the bloodline elements, which could potentially tie into those who apply that technology in the Void Century, being the Lunaria of the God Country, who Sanji himself has been often likened to due to his ability to generate flames, so perhaps that's where the connection goes, which could make sense as Pluton is found in the underworld.
Wait a second.
Likened to due to his ability God Country, who Sanji himself has been often likened to due to his ability to generate flames, so perhaps that's where the connection goes, which could make sense as Pluton is found in the underworld beneath Wano, which Zoro ties to, Poseidon is found at the sea at Fishman Island, which Jinbei ties to, and thus Uranus could be somewhere up in the sky, such as for example...
That's so sick! Wait a second. Oh, hey, yo. Hold on, on my end it doesn't show the full name here. Terrible TJ, there we go. Yo, TJ, gifted 5 memberships. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you. Let's see who's aboard now. We got Bugs in Plastic. Welcome. Glup. Andika. Welcome. Adrian. Jackson Steele. What's up, guys? Welcome to the membership. Good timing, guys. Everyone that's a member right now is going to get to see the early access for the next video. That's probably going to go up tonight. I don't know when though, but it's going to be up tonight. I am determined to finish this video today. I do not want to edit this video anymore. So it'll be up tonight on the YouTube membership page for early access. You get to catch it a day early. It's my biggest video in probably the past 3 months. So yeah, that's going to be fun. You get 24 hours early access. Congratulations.
The top of the red line.
Wait, so I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. Can I talk about how sick this is? So it makes sense, right? Jinbei is inherently tied to Fishman Island, which is the location of Poseidon. Zoro is inherently tied to the underworld as the king of hell and achieved this connection in Wano, and he has deep connections to Wano. His family has connections to Wano. And that's where Pluton is. And Sanji has the fire, and the potential for Sanji having Lunarian DNA has only grown with time. The more that we see about Judge and Mads and the Lunarian experiments, I mean, the possibility that Lunarian DNA is what gave the Germa 66 their resilient properties, their superhuman characteristics, that would mean that Sanji has that Lunarian connection. And if that's true, does that imply that Uranus, the god named after the god of the sky, the ancient weapon named after the god of the sky, has a relation to these sky people? That's a brilliant point. And then that would be reflected in the commanders of Luffy. That's actually, wow. And the crazy thing is, we got to this conclusion from Pinzoro and Terra and all them. So
where the god country of the Lunaria
you never know.
resided.
That's crazy.
Perhaps that could even tie into why Imu-sama seems to have such a world-destroying power.
Also, guys, if we could, please like the stream if you're enjoying it so far. I know that we haven't actually gotten to the main event yet, but like the stream. It does help me out a lot. Yeah, so it's a click away. Appreciate it, guys.
We're at the moment. Either way, while we're at it, let's quickly talk about the remaining stuff from this SBS, as you might find some of it interesting. For one, it's the fact that Otama's full name is confirmed to be Kurozumi Tama, making her part of the same clan as Orochi and Kanjuro. Now, this isn't actually new, as we already saw the name Kurozumi being written on the graves of her parents, but it's something that you probably lost in translation if you didn't read Japanese, so it's good to have it confirmed directly by Oda as well now.
It is.
The implications of this are very significant for the narrative, as on one hand it helps shows how cruel Orochi was.
I honestly think this is not even an issue of Oda not putting it in the story with the Tama thing. He put it in the story. The problem is, he should have made the graves bigger. Just make them bigger, dude. Just make it so that you can clearly read the text. There's no reason to do these half measures where the name that's on the gravestone is barely readable and then we have to guess who it is. And then later in an SBS, you're like, oh yeah, that was, yeah, she's Kurozumi. And it's like, if you made that a little bit more obvious, people could get that in the story. They could get that context from the story without having to come here for that information. So that's a gripe I do have with that, because that issue did not even sprout from like a necessity of like what's needed in the story or like that sort of writing thing. No, it was just the writing was too small to read clearly. It was too small to read clearly. So none of the translation teams were able to pick up on the fact that the gravestones said Kurozumi on them. I mean, of course, people picked up on it, but when the scans and stuff were coming out, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, there weren't author's notes or there weren't anything pointing to that as like a definitive Tama's parents were Kurozumi family members. You know, that I wish that was a little bit more clear, and that could have been totally resolved by just framing it a little bit closer, making the text a little bit more legible. Yeah, so DK Rayleigh says, weren't they too poor to have a big gravestone? But the thing is, I'm not saying that you have to make the gravestone bigger. I'm saying that you have to zoom the camera in closer. That's it. Just, you can have the names on the gravestone, on the sticks or whatever, like not the sticks, but like the thin boards that have the name, you know. It's not exactly easy to read on like something that thin. You can have that, but zoom into it so you can actually read it. That's it, you know.
He only cared about himself
that's
and was willing to let his clan
that's the
suffer,
one gripe I have with
but on
that. It
the
could have been
other,
solved
shows
so
how the
easily.
cycle of
I think the
hatred
anime will fix that,
and
though.
revenge was broken after Orochi's death, and how the people of Wano are now willing to forgive the Kurozumi and accept them once again. In fact, Oda
Or make the
goes on
panel
to
bigger.
explain in this
That's a good point,
SBS how
Dilcor.
Hyora's comment at the end of the arc was intended for Orochi
So.
and Orochi alone, and that they have no intention to persecute other Kurozumi like Tama. This is something that was clearer in the Japanese version, and statement got a bit lost in translation, like I talked about it back in the day, especially if you didn't read the official translation, which also clarified it was meant in the singular. A lot of this...
Thank you. I made a big thing about this too, where it was like people were getting so angry about the ending with Hiyori, and they have no understanding of the context in the original language that made it a lot more clear who she was talking to. And because the English translation doesn't have a proper equivalent that gets that line off like correctly, everyone just assumed that Oda was condemning an entire, like everyone just jumped on Oda's back like, oh, you're condemning all the Kurozumi to die. That's not what he was saying there. Not gonna harp on it, but that's I do appreciate that Artur took the time to make that point, because I had a whole thing about that too, where I was like, guys, in the original context, it's very clear she's referring specifically to Orochi, because people refer to each other in Japanese commonly by their family name and not by their first name. But that doesn't necessarily mean if I were to refer to you by your family name, it wouldn't mean that I'm specifically always referring to your entire family, especially in a context where you're making like a little pun. So, you know, I appreciate him making that point. I think that's something that people need to speak out about a little bit more.
Confusion among Western readers arose because this scene ties with the concept of Rakugo theater and the laugh tales of Rakugo theater, which make heavy use of puns and wordplay to deliver powerful messages. But if you're not familiar with the culture, then this bizarre pun might just come off as a really poor attempt at a joke, rather than the culturally meaningful line it is meant to be. Though, of course, whether you think the execution was done well enough or not is up to you, but it's good to have official confirmation that the cycle of hatred in Wano will be put to a stop, as the Kurozumi will be forgiven. This is a perfect circular narrative, as Wano started with how much Tama was suffering under the oppression of Orochi, and now the Kurozumi are forgiven to ensure that never happens again. I find it particularly meaningful to mention how Oda here states that this is a problem that is still widespread in many parts of the world, and he specifically tells readers to think for themselves how they think Hiyori and Momonosuke would react if they found out Tama is a Kurozumi. On a similar topic about Wano, Oda also comments on how Chopper was unable to make a medicine that can reverse the effects of smile.
Here's another one.
Laugh, claiming that there are some things in the world that we can't do.
I'm glad this whole video is actually tackling that entire that whole interview at SBS, not interview, SBS. I'm glad this is tackling that whole thing, because there's so many points of contention in this one, and it's just because this SBS was the one that was supposed to kind of like put the bow on Wano, and it wasn't exactly the bow that people wanted. And I think in certain cases it's fine. Other cases I have some complaints as well. This is one of them. Okay? Oda saying there are things we can't do anything about in this world is, in my opinion, contradictory to the nature of Chopper's goals specifically. Because, or at least rather, the way he's using this quote in reference to the people of Wano having their biology altered by devil fruits, by medicine, by bad, faulty medicine, and just for Oda to just shrug it off and be like, sometimes you can't do anything about it. And it's like, isn't Chopper's entire goal to create a cure-all? Like, isn't that his whole character, is to create a cure-all? Like, that's his thing, you know? So if you're saying, yeah, tragedy happens, you can't do anything about it in retroactively. I can't undo the Buster Call on Ohara. But this is something, these people are still alive, you know? This is something that presumably you can fix. So that's the one thing I'm going to give Oda a little bit of flack for that line. I'm not a big fan of that one.
Anything about. However, he puts particular emphasis on the fact that Chopper can't do it yet. So perhaps once he's achieved his dream of being able to cure any disease in the world, he could be able to come back and cure the people of Wano. Also,
and of course Artur comes in with the clutch, yeah, that's a good point. It's just, you know, it still just feels like an unsatisfying answer. I don't know. I don't know how else to describe it, really. It's just not an answer that people really want to hear, because one of the biggest burning questions people had was, why didn't Chopper do anything about it? But I think really what it comes down to more so is that the issue wasn't even addressed, you know? It's not so much that Chopper can't do anything about it yet. That's not the issue. Fine, he can't do anything about it yet. That's understandable. The thing is, in Wano, it was never brought to Chopper's attention that this was even a problem. Like, I'm pretty sure Chopper never even had conceived of the idea of helping these people, of actually curing the smile, and then coming to the conclusion that I can't do anything about it yet. So that's pretty much where I'm at with that. It's like, it's still not a satisfying thing, because I really wish Chopper would at least acknowledge that there's something that needs to be fixed there.
Yamato's least favorite food is spicy food like chili and wasabi. Make of that what you will. Oda also clarifies Sanji's genetic alternations.
It's not devil fruit users, B rank. They're not devil fruit users. They ate faulty devil fruits. It's like eating bad food. You get ill from eating bad food. So they ate faulty devil fruits and altered their DNA or something in some way. Just like the Isoni stuff, affects people like a virus. It's like a this is some if something got changed in your body by some sort of outside influence, it can be undone, presumably with the right medical technology. So that's up Chopper's alley, 100%. They used medical science to create them in the first place.
Did have some effect, but were mostly neutralized by the medicine Sora took. These small alterations were enough to give Sanji abnormally high heat resistance, which is why he was able to withstand the heat of Diable Jambe and not burn his leg off, though the way Oda words it makes it sound like Diable Jambe is created through Sanji's own strength, not his genetic alterations. Using the raid suit brought out further.
I wish Sanji's clothes would burn off when he did it, though. Like, I wish he'd have no pants, like, after using it. Like his pant leg would be burned off.
After the fight with Queen. On the topic of if the Straw Hats share their past with each
it's like
other,
the bottom
Oda
half
comments
is missing because he burnt it off with the
personalities of the original crew members, Luffy and Zoro don't really talk about their past. Nami, Sanji, and Chopper will talk about their past if asked, and Usopp will talk about his past even
This
if
is a great
not
point.
asked. But since the adult team can tell when he's lying, they instead ask Nami, Sanji, or Chopper for the truth. That said, among the Straw Hats, there are those that aren't interested in the pasts of others. Oda also talks about the way in which he incorporates fan service into his story, claiming that, ever since I was a child, there's been many manga that feature fan service scenes, but most of the time it's done against the consent or will of the female characters. So I feel that having females show their sexuality out of their own volition, such as like with Happiness Sponge, is a much needed revolution for the representation of heroes.
I knew someone would harp on the Sanji comment. I got scammed by a Latina says you kinky as hell in regards to the Sanji burning his pants off thing. So I think we're just gonna leave it there. I just thought it'd be funny because if he uses Diable Jambe and if it's his body that's resistant to the heat, does that mean his clothes are resistant to the heat? No. I want to see the pant leg burn off. Okay, let's get realistic here. It's a realistic series. Okay, I gotta be able to suspend my disbelief.
Oda talks about the form in which comics exist in the One Piece world, clarifying how they don't exactly have manga, but what are known as illustrated stories, or e-monogatari in Japanese, which is what Kaido referred to in chapter 1045. Illustrated stories, or e-monogatari, are a precursor to comics in all Japan that feature panels without speech balloons, instead describing the actions within them in large text boxes. In the One Piece world, it seems they still haven't gotten to the stage of current manga with speech balloons, but it's
basically what you're telling me is that comics are the TikTok version of illustrated of picture books. They're the TikTok version of picture books. And then picture books are like YouTube, right? You have like one picture and then you have an entire essay about this one image. And then the comics are like a bunch of like flashy things to just like trigger dopamine in your mind and like small little text bubbles. There you go. That makes a lot more sense. So they're not in the modern age yet. They haven't TikTokified everything yet. Got it.
Slightly different formats, so just think of them as comics existing in the One Piece world. Oda also presented us with some of the most famous titles that currently exist, such as the Warrior of the Sea Sora, which you might remember having been mentioned several times as the propaganda hero shown in the comic strip of the World Economic Journal, as well as Fardog, Pokémon, Monkey Ball, and Maruko-san. These three former are all of course parodies and references to famous manga that have all inspired Oda, such as Doraemon, though the name is changed to Pocket Pokémon to make him sound like Pokemon, Dragon Ball, and Chibi Maruko-chan. These latter ones.
I wish he made like a little dig at Naruto somewhere in there with like, well, not like a dig, but like, you know, a Naruto parallel as well, because him and Kishimoto were, I mean, they were rivals, so.
One in specific, whose mangaka was.
It'd be funny to see like a little Naruto like copy, like picture book character.
Oda, and sadly passed away a few years ago, so it's really nice to see him showing tribute to this way. This concept may not seem that important right now, but I'm sure you'll one day realize just how crucial this really is to the story, so please keep this last bit in mind.
Parvision goes, whoa, Hidden, you dissing my TikToks? No, I'm not dissing your TikToks, okay? I'm just saying, I'm saying that the difference in how the content is delivered between comics and picture books is the same, you know? It's just different, it's a different format. It's a different format. I'm not pro-banning TikTok. I have a TikTok, I just haven't... I've been thinking of what I want to make for TikTok. I'm almost tempted to make the PowerPoints for TikTok. Not any of my actual serious content, just like my break week style, really shitty last minute like thrown together style PowerPoints. Yeah. So
But that's a theory for another day, a story no one yet knows about.
what can I say, man? Great video. That was a great video. That was great stuff. I appreciated a lot of the insight here. I like that you tackled the entire SBS. I think this was needed. I actually didn't watch that many videos talking about this when it first happened. I kind of just had my opinion. I put it out there. I was a little bit upset by how much everyone was like fuming at it. And you know, it's a typical break week thing. It's like, okay, you know, people are gonna get upset because we haven't had the developments in the story to keep us entertained. I'm pretty sure this lined up with a break week, right? So, yeah. That all being said, you know, now that the topics have kind of cooled down and people are kind of now talking about new stuff, it's cool to come back to this and just get the, you know, insight, the kind of retroactive look at a retrospective look at, you know, all that stuff, all the SBS. What was it? 105? Cool. Let me see what... I see people discussing a theory in chat right now. There's a theory, Morge has a theory that Egghead Island is not being drawn by Oda. Is that actually a theory that he's been saying? I'm interested in that. I want to know what his reasoning is for that. Is it because... Is it because of what you guys are saying, like the panty shots and all that stuff? Because it is way more than it used to be. I will say. I mean, well, there absolutely have been times in the story where Oda has ramped up the fan service, for sure. But it feels like it's pretty prevalent here. I don't know. I think that's just a consequence of the outfits that he went with. But then again... He did choose the outfits, so yeah, no, if that's the reason, that's interesting. I would love to know if there's like more reasoning behind that. Parvision says, my theory about Fire Dog and Sora, the comics in the One Piece verse. Yeah. We talked about this. I think we talked about this once. I think you had sent me the Sora Warrior of the Sea. The Fire Dog, was it not it was a short, right? It was a TikTok or short or YouTube short that I think you sent me. We watched it on one of the Friday streams. I remember that one. Hey, thank you for the $5, Growth Stonks. He said, loved your theory on the name of the ancient kingdom. Will the name of the ancient kingdom be revealed to the world since Egghead is an inversion of Ohara? That's a very interesting idea. So you think that maybe this will be a similar situation where we had the whole Will of Ohara lives on thing that came up with Shaka and then maybe at some point before this arc is over and before Egghead gets presumably obliterated. Excuse me. Whew. Get some water. Presumably when that happens, you think maybe there might be some reveal about the name of the ancient kingdom. If that were the case, I almost would have to concede at that point that it's not One Piece. Because I don't think we're going to get the name of the ancient kingdom until we're just about there, if anything. If not right in front of it. So I don't think it would be like, if the ancient kingdom is named One Piece and then we get that in Egghead Island, that means that we have the reveal of the treasure spoiled. So it's like a little bit of both. I would be happy if my theory ends up being correct, I guess. I would prefer that not be at the expense, though, of the reveal itself. So if it was going to happen in Egghead, if it was going to happen in Egghead, I'd want it to be a name that's not the One Piece. Have the One Piece still be its own treasure, its own mystery, and then the name of the ancient kingdom finally gets revealed with Egghead Island. I think that would work. No, this is different. I should have put this in a short, though. It was in my facecam vid. Ah, okay. Okay, Maya asked, did you see Morge's latest theory vid? It's a banger. I'd love for him to be right. I did not. The one with Luffy's gonna blow up the world. Okay, so I actually, I don't know if Morge, you're ever gonna see this VOD or you're watching the stream. I just want to say that thumbnail and title combo was amazing. That's probably one of my favorites of yours. I just love that. Like the Luffy pressing the button with the smile and then the world exploding in the background is like, that's something I would have sent to Lee J and had him draw. Like that's something I love ideas like that. It was just really, really nice, really great looking thumbnail. I love that. It's just hilarious. It made me laugh when I first saw it. Juxtaplicity, thank you for the $10. She says, right after an SBS where he talks about how he hates panty shots, having an arc where there's been more egregious panty shots in like 15 chapters than the whole series is so weird. I mean, it could just be that he's just kind of changed his tune on it. I mean, I do think it's still Oda drawing it. No one can really... I don't know, the way, like, the energy and the atmosphere that's been captured in every other panel. Like, I know that we're all focused on the fan service here, but, like, a lot of the craziest panels in this arc have been, like, god-tier panels. Like, there's no way Oda's not drawing that. There's no way that's not Oda behind that, The occasional thing where it's like, okay, it seems like he's ramping up the fan service a little bit. For all we know, it could be the editors pressuring him to do it. Not to absolve him of the criticism. That's not the point I'm trying to make. It's just like, there could be a lot of reasons. And I think that it doesn't necessarily point to him not being the one actually drawing the arc, I think that's like a very... that's like a big jump to make. As much as I think it's an interesting theory, and I'd love to see more evidence for that, to jump from... okay, he's putting more fan service than usual, therefore he can't be drawing the arc right now. Like, it has to be a different person. It's a bit of a leap, It's a bit of a leap. There's so many great panels this arc that it's like, that has Oda's brand of quality on it, That his stamp of quality is all over this arc, all over the place, with these insane panels, that it's just like, what I really think it is if anything, it's the editors. I think it's the editors pressuring for sales. And if I had to guess why they're pressuring Oda to do fan service is Film Red. People might not be ready to have that conversation. But I think it was Film Red that is directly responsible for this. Stefan Salih asks, will this stream be archived? No, it's going to be public. It'll be public. everyone can watch it. Doesn't matter if it's a month from now, year from now, whatever. Everyone will be able to watch this stream. All the Conqueror's clashes will stay public. It's only the streams where I'm doing stuff like reading a manga chapter live, where I don't want to have a VOD of an entire manga on YouTube for a long time. I'd rather just private that for you know, just to be safe. But streams like this where we're just hanging out, get a guest on here and talk, no reason to take it down. But to everyone that doesn't want to watch past streams, it is available to members. So if you are a member, you have access to all my past streams. Oh yeah. So where was I? I think the connection to Film Red is specifically in the success of Film Red. I'm pretty sure Film Red was the most successful One Piece movie, was it not? It was an incredibly successful marketing campaign that a big part of the marketing campaign is this pushing of Uda and the idol culture stuff, the whole idol culture thing being in Film Red. That's a big part of Film Red. They appealed really hard to like the VTuber idol culture crowd, and totally cool. But what that means is that idols sell, you know, cute girls dressed cute, doing cute things, or being hot sells, and they realize that, and that's what I think is that's what I think it's about. So, hey, all right, cool. Artur said he's good to go. I just saw the Discord message. So yeah, just quickly wrapping up what I was gonna say. I think that maybe there was a realization after Film Red that this stuff does sell. So why not do the same thing in Egghead? We could take all the girls in Egghead and stick them in cute outfits, and that's probably going to boost manga sales, if I had to guess. Anyway, with that out of the way, let us get to the main event. I'm going to call my friend Artur, and let me just make sure we get the actual stream set up as it should be. All right, cool. So far, so good. Stream setup is good. Artur, I'm going to give you a call right now. All right, I think we're good.
Can you hear me well?
I think, yeah, I can hear you great. Let me just make sure that your audio is good for the stream, and let me also just pull you up on the display here. Just 1 second. All right. So I guess, so I won't be able to turn on my cam for you. I apologize for that. Is that cool?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I won't appear on camera, right?
Yeah, so that's what I figured it would be okay. So, yeah. All right, cool. So let me just take this off, and let me just reorganize this. How's everything going, man? How you been? I know.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. We were live already, right?
Yeah, we are. We're live. We're good to go.
I apologize to everyone in chat as well for being a bit late, but health stuff got in the way, and fortunately, it is how it is for me. But I'm thankful that you got people entertained until then, because
no worries,
I felt a bit bad being a bit late.
No need to feel guilty or bad about it. I totally understand, man. We're all here to be supportive of you, and I'm just happy that you were able to make it. I was saying earlier in the stream, actually, one thing that was funny about this is that when I came up with the Conqueror's Clash idea, and I don't know how much you're filled in. I'm gonna fill you in on all the rules and stuff and how it works, but. Sure. When I first came up with this idea, actually, I thought that you would be like the perfect person to bring on for this, because the whole format is like a series spanning, thing. We're going to be like talking about everything. It's not just recent events. So for you, it's like, a lot about the series. So like, this is perfect. This is like right up your alley. So I was like, we got to get Artur on here. We gotta do this whole thing. So
I'm not fully familiar with how the format is, so please do tell me.
Absolutely. So I'll explain it. So what we got today is me and you are going to have a clash of hockey live on stream. And the way this clash is going to work is we're going to be answering One Piece prompts one at a time. They're going to come up on stream. You're not going to see them, but I'm going to read them to you. And these prompts are all going to be categorized by the 3 types of haki. Each type of haki is going to represent a different type of prompt or question. So observation haki are going to be prompts centered around making theories about the future of One Piece, predictions, things like that. Armament haki are going to be about reinforcing stuff that's already happened. So like, do you agree or disagree with this point? Maybe like a power scaling question, something like that would be like not theorizing, but more so what we've already learned and kind of making statements off of that. Make sense? And then lastly, we have the Conqueror's haki. The Conqueror's haki prompts will be the main prompt of the stream. These are the big ones. And these are going to be more of like the detailed questions. These are the ones that you want to like think about, give a detailed answer. And what we're going to do is once me and you give our answer to a Conqueror's haki prompt, we're going to actually put a poll up in stream and we're going to have people vote on which answer they like better. And that's the Conqueror's Clash happening. The Roger Whitebeard. Makes sense?
Okay, so observation is
theories.
Theories.
Theories, predictions.
Armament is power scaling.
No, it's pretty much anything else. I think of it like the paramecia category. Does that make sense? It's like stuff that isn't like about theory. Everything else kind of throw into the armament. And then conquers are like the big hard hitting questions. Last thing, I actually have randomized the order. I always forget to mention this in the previous streams. I have randomized the order of the prompts, so I don't know what I'm getting either. So me and you are in the same boat. I put a ton of them in here, so it could be anything. So with that being said, I'm just trying to think if I missed anything. Have I missed any rules? No, I think we're pretty much good. Quickly going to answer this super chat from Dilkorth. Thank you for the 14 Canadian dollars. He says, "Here's to a great discussion, fellas." I appreciate that very much, man. Artur, you ready to get started?
Yeah, I feel I wrote myself into something I didn't know, but I'm excited for it.
I apologize if that's how it is. I want it to be.
No. I'm the one who just blindedly agrees. Like, yeah, sure, let's just stream. So,
the goal with these is to be fun. To make it fun. I want because I feel like there's so many discussions already happening about the same thing. We're all talking about the new chapter already, so it's nice to sometimes take a break from that, go to other parts of the series to have an opportunity to ask you about questions we wouldn't normally ask. So with that being said, let's go to our first prompt of the day, and that's going to be an armament haki prompt. What is your favorite setting in One Piece, and what is your least favorite?
Setting as in location.
Yes, location.
Oh my god, dude, you can't make me choose. It's just too many. There's
a lot of good ones. I saw some people were saying the volume was a little bit off. Just adjust that. Let me know, guys, if it's still going. Yeah, I think it's too hard.
My volume or yours?
Yours. I just had to adjust yours a little bit. So, but not on your end. Don't. I have a volume mixer on my end, so don't worry about it at all. Perfect. Just wanted to tell people if it's still bad, like if there's still like a problem, just let me know. But yeah, what I was saying is it's super hard to decide. I mean, I can think of 3 off the top of my head right now that I have to choose.
Think of like 10. I mean, it's like I'm usually like bad at deciding. When people ask me what's like my favorite One Piece arc, it's like all of them. So it's just like choosing between my favorite children.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe it's easier to start with your least favorite then. If you have like a setting you're not a big fan of.
It's tough because I think there's like when it comes to least favorite, it has to be. I don't think there's like any location that I hate. It's just some of them that I think are really boring. And I feel like some of them, like, early on, especially in East Blue, were, like, a bit more boring, which makes sense, though, like, narratively it fits. But, like, places like Shall's Down or stuff like that are just compared to everything else that comes later, especially the Shellstone in the manga is just like really plain. But,
That's a good point, yeah.
you know, it's kind of
Okay.
like it's just One Piece is something that like the progressively each setting just gets more interesting and more fascinating. But
That's actually a really good point. It really does kind of like it's kind of weighed against the early locations because they just don't stack up in terms of like wonder to
yeah,
the
but that like narratively makes sense because you start in a
Sure.
world that feels more real, and then it just becomes more wondrous and more absurd as it just goes on.
Okay. So would you say Shellstown is maybe if you had to like pick one, would you give Shellstown the least favorite tag?
I mean, it's complicated because it's like you could also say like a place like Harhetania, which is like we just
yeah.
want to say a random place that's just it's
True.
just like poor people suffering in these shacks. It's not exactly like the nicest place, but that feels kind of mean, you know.
Okay, so how about maybe like maybe let's adjust it this way. Instead of just any setting, like arc settings in the Grand Line. So like they
Right,
get to
yeah.
the Grand Line, major
Exactly.
islands in the Grand Line. If you had to pick between those, maybe that'll make it a little bit easier.
Does East Blue account, like we said, or
Uh,
Gold
it-
Line?
Maybe it would be more fair to count East Blue as one location because a lot of them are pretty uniform.
Right.
Like the islands are very uniform in that way. So
I would say East Blue because it's like the Grand Line is just fascinating. Like every
Yeah.
single island is hard to, pick one that I dislike, frankly.
okay, what about a favorite? You have any? What are maybe a couple that come to mind?
I feel like one of the. I would say that as a whole, Totoland is probably one of the most creative places that Oda has created.
I love that. I'm a big Total Land fan. I'm a huge fan of that place.
Especially like the way he structured like all the islands with all like the children and
Yes.
the ministers, all that stuff. It's like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love how the location lends itself to island hopping. Like just setting things on an archipelago is great, and with Sabaody, because everything's kind of just connected by
Yes.
bridges. It's like it's not the same sort of archipelago. It's an amazing location, amazing place, but I like the scale of like
You're
like,
making me choose between my children because when you see Sabaody, it's like, oh man, I love
Okay.
Sabaody.
All right, I'll help then. I'll throw in my 2 cents. If I had to pick a favorite, like a favorite location in the story, up until recently, it would have been a toss up between Water 7 and Totland, but Egghead is really like it's
Okay.
getting there. It's getting there. It's
That's
so
exactly
cool.
what I wanted to say, but it's like I don't want to like be hit by like recency bias.
Oh no.
So I was like trying to avoid like Backhead, but like Egghead legitimately is just surreally cool.
Okay, I'll tank the recency bias for you.
Sure.
I think Egghead is so sick. It's so cool.
It's such a cool design.
The whole like cloud with the broken egg, and just like also we got the color palette reveal in that like promotional video, and it looks so colorful and nice.
Yeah.
One thing I'm excited to see more of is like just more of like the actual city itself that all the other workers and people seem to be a part of. I would love to just see like more of outside the lab.
Maybe
but-
during the battles, like later on, I would guess.
Yeah, and that's what I think is going to happen. I think once the battles start to really take off, they would have to migrate to like more open spaces. So it's going to be cool.
Yeah.
It's going to be really cool.
I really like the verticality of Egghead.
Yeah,
'Cause it's
yeah.
like usually we get like islands that are like very flat and stuff, but there's like 2 like layers to it, and like Oda's really playing with that.
I think Oda's been getting into the idea of like verticality and like building like
Yeah.
settings because of like Onigashima was like a lot like that too, right? With the
Yeah,
the
and the
left
whole
brain
Cake
towers.
Chateau as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, the whole cake. Yeah, it's a really good point. Maybe I wonder if that's all setting us up kind of mentally for Pangea Castle, right? Like, that might be what's happening.
That
Right?
that's like another
Yeah,
location
right.
up. But I really hope that Marijoa ends up being like the big final boss location of the series because it has that energy.
It is my number 1 pick for that. Absolutely. I know a lot of people want it to end on Laugh Tale, and that's fine. That's a fair take. But Mary Joie is just such a cool location, and I just want I want to actually see more of it and have
Just
the
to
characters
throw-
in it.
Just to throw in a crack theory, why not both at the same time?
Yeah. Oh, okay. So now we're thinking with portals. So so I think first off that there's a world where that works too. But those are probably going to be some of the best locations as well. I can only imagine Laugh Tale is probably going to be the most exciting, interesting location in the whole story.
I hope so, honestly, because like the thing that I have in mind for Laugh Tale is just like ruins, and I hope it's something more interesting than that.
It depends. It's either that the ruins aren't going to be the important part and it's the treasure that's within them that's the important part, or it's just all going to be, I mean, this is kind of just my own bias for the theory, but because I want the city itself to be the One Piece or whatever, I would like if the location was actually interesting, if it wasn't just some like ruined, bunch of rocks on the ground. But
I see people in chat saying Wano as well, which it's just so many places.
For me, Wano is actually on the lower end, and maybe that it's not my least favorite, but for the sake of like making the conversation interesting and not just saying like East Blue, Wano. My issue with Wano is that it's not really so much of an issue, but it just kind of didn't feel like
Japan.
Yeah, it's just Japan. It just didn't really feel like it was anything I hadn't seen before in like other manga or other settings. So
yeah, but I do kind of like how Oda sort of set up Wano to kind of be like Japan, where it's like different islands which kind of each their own weather. And I like that Oda kind of mentioned that like each of the islands of Wano represents like a different island, like Shikoku or like Hokkaido and all that stuff.
I'm assuming Ringo would be like Hokkaido and
No, it's like Onigashima was supposed to be atop Ringo, so it's kind of like formed more like Japan it is now, but then Onigashima was moved down for like story reasons. And so Ringo would be the whole Tohoku region.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's really interesting. I actually...
Like and all that stuff, yeah.
I didn't know that.
He mentioned this in an SBS a while back, I believe.
Goodness, guys, this is why we have Artur here. This is why we have him here. It's like I didn't even know that. That adds a little bit more depth to it. Okay, so maybe I give Wano a little bit too much flack there.
I will say one thing though, it's that Wano does lose a bit of aesthetic points after what Orochi did to it, because most of it just was barren wasteland, unfortunately. But that will change again, I'm sure.
That's true. I mean, the Odin flashback Wano was certainly more beautiful to look at on page.
I mean, that's like saying Dressrosa after the Birdcage, for example. Like, yeah, obviously it's gonna be uglier.
Yeah. I think that's a good point, and I do want to move on to the next prompt, but it is a good point that maybe Oda is going to show us the repaired versions of these countries at some point. I would love to see what like a
So I'm pretty sure.
Thank you for the $20, Chance. Chance Rainey said, I'm super late, but I'm here, boys. Welcome. Well, thank goodness. We actually just got started, actually, so it worked out. So you actually didn't miss too much. All right, let's go to the let's do the next prompt here. All right, next up, we got an observation haki prompt. All right, so this one is, what is a mythical Zoan that you want to show up before the end of the series?
I have a theory about this.
Okay.
That I made on my channel, and I think that Blackbeard has not eaten the the dark fruit, but rather he has a mythological type fruit that isn't like the Yami Yami Nomi. So the Yami Yami Nomi would be like the fake name, like the Gomu Gomu Nomi, and in reality, Blackbeard has eaten a mythological type fruit, because as Blackbeard himself said, he said that Logia fruit, unlike other Logia fruits, his fruit cannot like transform and shift and change. He can't turn into the element, he can only generate it. So I do think that's already hinting that he does have a different fruit. And I think that Blackbeard managed to get specifically the devil fruit, as in the Hitohitonomi mythological type devil.
Okay, so the literal devil as a devil fruit. I like that idea. So would that,
if we take into account the theory that I also presented, that Imu-sama could be the devil of the sea, suddenly there's a lot of things that kind of start falling into place, but I'll leave it at that.
I'm starting to see it. So that's also making me interested, because if we are connecting the devil symbolism of the Lunarians into this, because a big thing of mine is that I really, really believe that the Lunarians have those like biblical inspirations in the same way, and I think that that devil fruits.
About that as well. Can I mention this?
Yeah, go absolutely.
The thing is that during the Void Century, the Lunaria of the God Country were called gods. Nika himself was also called a god. But, on the other hand, the humans, the kings of the 20 kingdoms, were called devils. We see the Tontata saying the kings of that time were known as devils. And similarly, Imu may have been at that time the Sea Devil. But what happened? When the humans won the war and rewrote history, they became the gods, the celestial dragons, whereas instead all those who associated with the ancient kingdom became the devils. Right, the natural enemies of the gods, the D-clan and all that stuff, and also, like the devils of Ohara, the devil child Nico Robin. So it's kind of like that whole, like, devil-god sort of parallel flipped around,
Wow. Okay, so I actually didn't even think of the Tontata, the way they refer to them actually being some sort of, like, title. But that makes a lot of sense when you think about it, too, because... this actually, like, our theories actually really go well together here, because think about this, like, you have the gods on top of the red line, they get replaced by the devils, and then they call themselves the gods, and then everyone that's I guess what my assumption is about the D is that they're the descendants of this ancient kingdom, and then they get cast off and branded as the devils,
the natural enemies of the gods.
Yep, exactly. So that's that. I mean, it all really does make sense. I like the Sea Devil idea. I'm curious as to how is it going. Do you think the Sea Devil thing, is that also a devil fruit power, or is that like out of curiosity, is that like more like a natural occurrence? Or
I think that Emu was the original Sea Devil, whereas like Glabir kind of has the Sea Devil fruit in the same way that Luffy is kind of has the Nika fruit that the original Jogo instead has died. But I think that it's something that will probably be explained some way, like even like Emu's powers originally could have been like augmentations with like the bloodline elements or something, similar to the Lunaria or stuff like that. Or, we can't deny the possibility that there is some sort of grander power in the world of One Piece with gods or something, but I feel like that's still something that we don't know much about, but we don't really need to explain it yet.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't matter much how Emu was able to be the devil, it's more that Emu is the devil, more than anything what that means,
Okay. No, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. I'm trying to think of a answer that's more interesting than I can't. Honestly, I think that's a great answer. No, I think that's a great answer. My reflexive thing would be to say like, actually, here's a theory that I played around with. I kind of dropped it a while ago, but it's an idea that I've still always been a fan of. That one of the ancient weapons is a devil fruit. So their names, like Uranus, for example, like I would like to see the Uranus devil fruit. Like maybe that's what the power is, and it's not it's an ancient weapon, but the ancient weapon is accessible to whoever eats the fruit, and it's maybe some sort of like hidden thing. I don't know, but like that kind of fits in with the idea of the inherited will nature of, like, for example, the blueprints being passed down for Pluton, and then people being born over and over until you get Poseidon. So maybe it's like a devil fruit sort of mechanic where it's like a similar passed down through the generations to get this ancient weapon. And if they're all named after these mythological gods, just like some of the other devil fruits we've seen actually are, maybe there's a chance that one of the ancient weapons actually is a devil fruit instead of like a person or like a piece of technology. So that's like the thing. I
kind of wonder how, like that fruit would sort of be able to escape for 800 years, but we've already seen that with the Hitoitomi model Nika, right? So it's totally possible like another fruit may have done the same.
So I had this idea at the time of that reveal, and that was like the big contention in my mind, but until like maybe when Oda gives us the explanation of how the devil fruits have a will of their own kind of like works more, like how it was able to evade them for 800 years, then we can kind of like blanket that logic on other things, then then it'll make more sense. But he'll definitely need to explain that, because I'm also curious as to how the Gomu Gomu no Mi managed to do that, right? Like how did it...
Yeah, I think that ties with the idea that, like, zone fruits have a will of their own.
Sure.
And they can kind of like, but how do they do it exactly? Because I feel like we got a very scientific explanation for devil fruits in general. Like they are these things that augment the bloodline elements and help evolve humans. But the whole part about them having like a will of their own, like, yeah, we could justify that there's like so much DNA that it kind of starts taking a personality. But how can they influence people around them? How do they even reincarnate? That's like a mystery that Oda has to like explain eventually.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's in my opinion, it has, at least with the functionality of like devil fruits, because it's such a core concept to how the series works and how everything functions. We need that to get explained. Like that has to get explained. But the problem is, it's like, if this is going to connect to gods and magic, how far back does that explanation go? How far back are we going to have to actually go to explain how all this works in the world of One Piece?
I think that Oda will still explain things with science to a certain extent, because that's kind of how something he's committed like a lot to.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what we're seeing.
And there's the line by Vegapunk that I really like in chapter 1069, you know, with the whole Delphers, this thing is like, with a world as wonderful as this, why is there even the need to ask if gods exist? You know?
Yeah, I do love that that whole line. The whole like, it's a wonderful world, isn't it?
Exactly. You know, like, and like that's the thing. Is like, is there even the point of questioning if the gods really existed or not when the world is so full of these wonderful possibilities? And I think that's kind of what it's saying, that, you know, there's a natural way to explain everything.
I think he's saying something about the One Piece there too.
In what?
That it doesn't matter whether or not the treasure itself exists, but rather that people are seeking the treasure that matters. Because
you mean?
No. I mean, if that line is supposed to imply something as well, like, you know, the whole idea where Vegapunk's saying, right? It doesn't matter if the gods really exist, or like what, you know, if they are the cause of this, it's just a wonderful world. Maybe that same sort of logic or principle is like, people are so concerned whether or not the One Piece is real, and they doubt the existence of the treasure, that, you know, Luffy's not really concerned with that. He's not concerned with what it is or whether or not it's real. He wants the adventure. So I wonder if that, maybe there's sort of a similar mind frame going on there between the two of them, you know?
Maybe, but I think that like Vegapunk is sort of saying that it's kind of like saying there's like an explanation for everything, you know? True. And I think it's more relating to Nika in this context, in the sense that like, maybe Nika wasn't necessarily a god, maybe he was just a normal person, but, you know, it's like, and this is just all the matter of Delphers, but it doesn't matter, you know, like, people want someone who can liberate them, you know?
That's a great point. All right, next next one we got first Conqueror's haki. So this is going to be the big one, or one of the big ones. All right, so Artur, name a pirate who would make for a great marine, and vice versa. And how do you think the power dynamics would change if this happened?
My God.
It's a big one.
I mean, I assume you mean like personality-wise. Right?
Like yeah, you take a marine, personality wise, like,
because we're talking strength, is like, okay, I mean, just Shanks, you know?
right, yeah, personality more so. Like, how do you think that would affect the dynamics if like a character were to like swap sides or something? You think like, who do you think would be good for that? On
Putting
both ends.
Strength aside, obviously, I assume.
Yeah.
I mean, we did have a case where we already had someone who we believed to be a pirate in the form of Drake. Kind of like turning out to have been like a marine all along, you know. But I mean, like, for example, there's the theory that Randy really likes about, you know, Law being like a SWORD member, whether he is or not, which, like, I personally don't think he really may be, but I think that Law makes for a great marine, because I think he, like Rocinante, he kind of like deeply would want to help other people. You know, he's a bit of a tsundere in that regard, but, you know, he does ultimately generally care for the good of others as well.
Law would make a very good marine. What do you think, if he was in the Marines, like, do you think he'd be the type, like, what type of justice do you think he'd pursue in that situation, though?
Ooh, that's a very good question.
You know, like, if we had to compare him to, like, some of the other admirals.
Right. It's like, this is like a bit more of a philosophical question, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why, like, what comes to mind to me is like silent justice, which is like helping out others, but like not admitting because he's a tsundere, but kind of connects with the idea of Rocinante.
Tsundere justice?
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, he's good cop, bad cop. That's what that is.
Exactly.
Oh, man. So what about vice versa? Any Marines that you think would have a very successful career as a pirate, you know, in terms of just personality as well? Doesn't have to just be strength.
Them, honestly.
Really? Yeah.
because I feel that, I mean, someone like Akainu easily would make a great pirate, because, you know, he has the ruthlessness to, you know, he could have become a very major ranking pirate in his own right.
So when I thought of this question, the first thing that came to mind was like, well, we can just think Akainu, right? But like, I feel like with him specifically, his personality directly contradicts piracy. Like the way he views pirates are so anti-pirate that.
I mean, obviously, this is kind of like all in a what if
Sure,
scenario.
right, yeah. I just mean more so of like, if he has such a strong sense of justice, a lot of the activities that pirates do, I feel like would be difficult for him to get behind.
Okay, so wait, like the question is less like who could have like in a different life become a pirate,
Yeah,
and it's more like who right now do you see could like switch sides?
I guess, yeah, kind of like yeah, mix of both. Like
Those are two different things, yeah.
yeah, so like if there's a character you think could switch sides, would make for a great person on the other end, sure. Or alternatively, like yeah, if because it's like obviously our choices are very limited if it's like who can realistically switch sides. I just think specifically from going from Marine to pirate, I mean, I guess Akainu is kind of an asshole, but like he just like really he
I mean, one thing could have gone different, and Garp could have easily been a pirate.
True. So yeah, that's a better choice for in my mind. I feel like Garp is like a guy who his morals can kind of align with either side, and if he was just like maybe some things played out a little bit differently, he would have made
as well as someone like Smoker, I could see, because Smoker's whole ambition or his whole purpose is that he wants to protect other people. And I think that as a pirate, he will like try doing that kind of in the style that, you know, someone like Luffy or Shanks or other similarly kind-hearted pirates would do, you know?
Okay. I like the Smoker choice. So you think, so for your choices, it would be Law as a Marine and Smoker as a pirate? Is that what you would say?
Sure.
Cool.
Sure.
All right. So let's, I'll prep the poll, and then while I'm doing that, I'm going to think of my answer. And I'll start taking the answers first. I want to give you some time also. I feel bad for throwing all the hard-hitting questions at you immediately.
I know.
You don't have time to think. So I'll take the next few questions first. All right, so Clash 1, and let me just write Law Marine, Smoker Pirate. All right, so for me, I really, really like the Garp as a pirate idea. For me, I also feel like I really think what was better? Kizaru and Green Bull are really high choices for me, is what I want to say. I think both of them are like the thug, kind of like flippant thug personalities that would make for really good pirates, and they clearly don't seem to have like a solid sense of justice. They just kind of like do what their superiors tell them. I think they would make.
I would say Akainu is kind of like the same line. I think that some people overestimate how kind Akainu really is. I think he's more ruthless than some people kind of take him to be.
Interesting. So, out of curiosity, please elaborate on that. But give me 1 second. Let me just quickly throw out my other one, and I actually do want to hear your take on this because I think Akainu is a character that needs to get talked about more because he's kind of like sitting in the background and he doesn't get a lot of attention right now. So people kind of don't really talk about him much. But I do want to hear your thoughts on that. So I'll give it. You know what? I'll give it to Green Bull. For pirate, and for Marine, who would make for a really good Marine? I mean, I feel like Dragon would make for an incredible Marine.
Sure.
Yeah, I think Dragon would make for like a Fleet Admiral tier.
But you know what? It's like it's hard for me to see like a universe where like Dragon doesn't get tired working under the world government, because Garp already went through that, but I feel like Dragon would have been pushed to like the breaking point.
Yeah, that's true. I think maybe the only scenario where Dragon would do it is if the world government was replaced by let's say the revolution was successful and then they had like a new Marines scenario. But I guess, yeah. All right. So I'll just, for the sake of time, I'll put Dragon, Marine, and then Green Bull. Because I really think Green Bull is like the perfect. He's just a pirate in Marines clothing. I feel like, based on what we saw of him, that guy's like a Yonko commander in Marines clothing. But I'll put this up. Tell me what you were thinking about Akainu, because I actually.
It's like I think that some people sort of overestimate Akainu a little bit and kind of like think that he's gonna have like this sort of like tragic past and like a gray morally ambiguous thing. But I think that unfortunately Akainu is probably more cartoonishly evil than some people think. I mean,
Yeah.
he literally like murdered a guy who just tried to run away from the Battle Line Marineford rather than like actually fighting, which is like.
That's true.
Very extreme. But I kind of used to joke that like like the kid, her name was Yu, but it's this little kid in Lockdown who runs into Smoker with like the ice cream.
Yes, the ice
right?
cream. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that's like one of my favorite early scenes in One Piece. It was one of the first scenes that I read, and I absolutely love it so much. But I always joke that like if that had not been Smoker, but had it been Akainu, this dude would have sounded like a bastard or something.
he would have absolutely obliterated the ice cream stand that gave her the ice cream in the first place. Like, yeah, no, that's a good point. He is a little bit cartoonishly evil. That's sure. I mean, I've always attributed it to a really, really dedicated like set of beliefs to his like system, whether they're completely wrong, but he's incredibly dedicated to this like moral code that he has of like you have to enforce justice upon all criminals of the world, and anyone who runs away from enforcing that justice is as bad of a criminal. They're basically enabling the criminals. That's the way he sees it.
Yeah.
So like the way I thought of it was that the reason he killed the guy at Marineford is because he's like, oh, you're enabling these pirates. You're just as bad as them. So like cartoonishly bad for me is like more bad for the sake of bad. Like a cartoonishly evil character in my book is like a lot closer to a person like Doflamingo or Orochi. Orochi's a really good example of like a cartoonishly. Doflamingo definitely has that sort of human element to him, but there's also like, I mean, he has like the villain laugh, and he has like, like he has like the very,
I mean, he is the charisma of evil.
Yes, yeah. I mean, he's the. He is essentially the personification of it. But I guess in that respect, that is kind of what it is, to be cartoonishly evil. So
I will say though, on the like flip side, to like reinforce my point, I know that Smoker gets a bit of flack because he's not done much in the New World and he's like fallen a lot behind Luffy. But I still think that like Smoker has like some of the most Giga Chad moments in the entire series, because like I mentioned the one with the ice cream. There's also like the point at the end of Alabasta where he tells the Gorosei to literally go eat shit, which was
top tier.
That was
moment.
incredible.
Yeah. Also, he has a really cool bike that no one that no one talks about. It's like that
the
bike.
Billoware bike. Yeah.
We need more scenes with that. I would love to see the other bikes and like vehicles that people, because like how like Aokiji also has his bicycle that he like rides across the sea. So like I wonder like does Akainu have like a lava bike? It's like a really like you have a bike that's like shooting lava out the back.
He's got like the noisiest, most annoying like
it's like waking up everybody in the middle of the night at New Marineford.
Yeah, exactly. Like every time he like leaves in the morning, I was like, it's the Fleet Admiral again.
Yeah, I'll be real. If Akainu was in our universe, like if he was in our world, I wouldn't put it past him to be an obnoxious motorcycle driver that's doing it at like 10 p.m., 11 p.m., like just blasting down the road. All right, cool, man. Well, it looks like everyone liked your answer, so you have won the first Conqueror's Clash, Artur. I am no match.
Hey.
You've knocked me out. I'm passed out now. All right, so very nice with the 75 to 25% ratio.
Wow.
So you cooked my ass, dude. Oh man. All right, next, so we got armament haki. Agree or disagree? Oda has shown us Devil Fruit awakenings without telling us their awakenings. I will answer this first. I forgot I told you I'm going to answer this first. Yeah, so let me handle this first. I believe yes. I believe he has shown us Devil Fruit awakenings without saying. I think the real example that I always think of with this is Impel Down with Magellan right at the end. I think that his Venom demon, where he turns red and he becomes the giant Venom monster that is then spreading, like the Venom, whatever it comes in contact with, spreads it on its own, irrespective of him actually doing anything. I think that's an example of like an awakening affecting its environment. His Devil Fruit it went beyond poisoning people. It poisoned the literal ground that they were walking on, and if you touch that ground, you would then become poisoned by contact. I think that is like an awakening for sure in my book. And what really sells me on it is because that's the first arc where we're told about Devil Fruit awakenings and we learn about them with the down jailers. So if the jailer guards have awakened Devil Fruits, it would make sense to me if also Magellan, you know, the warden, had one too, like was able to awaken his as well. So that's my take. I think that was the first, like, I think that was an awakening that wasn't named. And by that same token, I think it's possible. I don't think, I mean, I think the odds are definitely more stacked against it than for it, but there is a world in which the flaming drum dragon that Kaido did is something related to his awakening ability that he pulled out last second. As like a kind of last resort situation, because we know that Zoans are hard to control when you awaken them. So maybe he was like right at the end, he's like, all right, I gotta beat Luffy here. I'm gonna bust out the big one, and then he goes into this giant lava dragon form, and then gets knocked out. So I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of ways to look at it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, to begin with, like, he did technically tell it through Crocodile, but like the Impel Down Jailer guards were already showing us awakening without explaining it, you know?
True.
So that's already something they did very early on. But I think, for example, like Logia Awakenings, whatever they are, we've surely seen it in some form. And there's some people that have the theory that Logia Awakenings like change the environments, but I also have the theory it's like, what if Logia Awakenings make the element kind of come to life? And that would explain why like some people kind of like, you know, Aokiji, Akainu, or even Enel were able to create like Logia attacks that took like the shape of animals and like moved on their own, you know? And like that could explain how Karasu's fruit works.
That could explain, that's a great idea. That could explain how a lot of Logia fruits work, because maybe this concept of like the Logia having like a true form or body explains like when a Logia user gets shattered, like Aokiji gets shattered into ice and then his form like reforms out of the ice. That's a really cool idea. I never thought about that actually. So then in that case, that makes me question, like, for example, we saw oh wait, no, that wasn't. Well, Green Bull's fruit was a Logia, right? I'm not mistaken in that.
Yeah.
So that, do you think that was an awakening where when he was stepping on the ground, it was turning everything to flowers wherever he walked?
I was kind of bringing up that it could be, you know, like some people can even consider it like the big like tree, like giant tree guy that he becomes was kind of like an animal in a form or something like that. Or it was also just kind of like, you know, the more traditional theory of them changing their environments. Because it's also kind of interesting how I believe if you look at that panel with Green Bull, his whole hair just kind of gets a bit more swirly, which is kind of similar to kind of like the Awakened Luffy or the Awakened Lucci, which could be just a coincidence in this case just because of plants and stuff, but it is kind of something that I do think it is interesting to think about.
I buy into it completely, man, because like, you know, like the thing is we've been hearing recently with Oda like swapping the eyebrow on Sanji with the raid suit stuff. If he's doing stuff like that, like minor little details, and those are supposed to actually signify a change in the character in some way, I totally buy that. Yeah, like the hair curling up, like that could be the sign that we need to just be like, okay, that might be an awakening right there. Like that could actually, that's a good point. That's a good point. Cool, man. All right, so another armament haki one. This one is, pick your favorite Straw Hat and describe your favorite post time skip moment from them. I'll take this for, unless you have one that immediately came to you just now. I'll take it first. Do you have one?
Post time skip moment, you mean, right?
Yeah. So your favorite Straw Hat and then your favorite moment post time skip from that character.
Favorite Straw Hat is easy, but let me think about the moment. So go first.
Okay. All right. So for me, it is, my favorite Straw Hat is Robin, and my favorite moment post time skip with Robin is pretty much, it's either a toss up. It's a toss up. I'd probably have to give it to the Grand Jacuzzi clutch, the Demonio floor, all that whole segment with Black Maria. Probably one of my favorite things to come out of the entire Onigashima arc. I love that chapter so much. I remember losing my mind reading that chapter, and I really sincerely enjoy Robin's character progression post time skip in general. like especially with Wano, where she had those moments of like character where she tried to impersonate a beast pirate and was like like shit talking Momo on the stage and stuff. Like there's so many little moments like that where her personality like really shines through, and I just loved her in this arc, and it all came to a head with that moment, that fight with Black Maria. So yeah, easily got to give it to that. I guess I'm trying to think of another toss up, but no, that's probably it. That's probably where I'd have to give it. What about you?
I mean, for me, it's literally impossible for me to choose like a favorite Star Hat of the bunch aside from Luffy. Like Luffy is my number one favorite character, and he's the one at the top, right? Like
Yes.
you asked me to like choose a number two, and it's like impossible. But at least like a number one for Luffy, I can say it. And for Luffy, it's like, yeah, it's gonna be like a very cliche answer, but it's like Gear 5th is such a revolutionary moment, especially in hindsight. Like the more time that just kind of passes by,
Yes.
it's such a perfect character climax for Luffy. Not just as a cool like hype moment, but even just narratively, it's so perfectly fitting.
Absolutely, and there's nothing
And
wrong
if I
with
had
that.
to-
Like
Yeah, and if I had to pick a close second, I would say Chapter 1000, the rooftop when he goes to Kinemon is like, oh,
that,
like
yes.
that whole sequence.
In the anime, oh my goodness, that
Yes.
10:15, man, that episode,
man.
that's one of the best episodes of anime I've ever seen in my life. That's a
Dude,
top
yeah.
tier. And look,
That episode is incredible.
yeah, dude. I mean, it was amazing. And when I say Robin's my favorite, I do mean the second favorite behind Luffy. I think, and I've talked about this. I know I've said this for sure on like some of my members' videos, but I've talked about like when I say favorite characters, obviously like I gotta just kind of put a footnote that's like not including Luffy because he's the main character.
I
He
love
is.
Luffy too much.
Yeah, he's gonna get like the most development, and we should love him the most because he's truly like the most developed character in the story. He is super deep. So I really love Luffy. Goes without saying he's the best. And yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with loving a good Luffy moment, man. That's at the end of the day we are reading One Piece to get to those Luffy panels. So that's what a lot of us are waiting for. You know, when he accomplishes those big things, when he does those big moments. So I respect it. I respect it. All right, next we got oh cool, we got one of these. We got a voice of all things prompt. So I actually didn't mention this at the beginning. This is called the voice of all things, and what this is we leave it to the audience to decide the next prompt for us. So they actually get to throw some questions our way, and we get to pick one from them that we like. So in the meantime, we'll have some discussions. Let you guys throw some prompts up in the chat, and then I'll pick some out. We can decide on one that we want to answer. Sound good?
Sure.
Cool, man. So what I was saying with Luffy, let's actually talk a little bit about Gear 5. So like now that you've had time to digest it, do you think the Kaido fight was Luffy's best fight? Are you happy? Like, do you feel like that was like one of your favorite fights that Luffy's had since the story has started?
Arguably, yeah. I mean, I think the only like real issue about Gear 5th itself is that the way it was kind of like so suddenly pulled into the story, kind of, I feel the narrative execution of introducing the concept was a bit dodged in some spots because, you know, like the whole like essentially retconning Luffy's fruit and the whole kind of like, you know, putting into contention if Luffy was the chosen one or all that stuff, I think it's kind of something that threw off like people a bit badly at the start of it all, and I think that unfortunately kind of worked against the initial impact of Gear 5th because, I mean, even though like obviously Nika was set up like earlier, like a year before in Wano, and even though like we had like a few weeks about like, you know, a certain devil fruit having like a different name, you know, like and a bunch of people, you know, me included, kind of sort of connect the dots. It's like, yo, okay, then like this like fruit that doesn't have like this fruit that was like that had a name change is probably the Gomu Gomu no Mi, which kind of ties into Nika and stuff. It still like was introduced like too late into the story for like such an extreme change, and it's something that should have been foreshadowed a bit earlier on, you know. And I think it's also something that because of the probably narrative importance that Nika will have later in the story, Oda wanted to keep a lot of secrets about him and like not explain fully how like that awakening works, because he didn't even explain how his own awakenings work. that was like still a mystery. He only like explained later in like Road to Laugh Tale, which I
Yeah.
think like that was like a bit of a missed opportunity and stuff. And I feel like that just kind of made the initial narrative impact a bit messy.
Yes.
And it's a shame because everything else about Gear Fifth is so absurdly genius on a narrative level, on a thematic level. And I feel like the way that Gear Fifth will tie into the rest of the story is something that I feel a lot of people are still not even thinking about now. It's something that I'm thinking a bunch of theories of mine, which, you know, could be right, could be wrong, but I do think it is something that will play a big role in the story. But unfortunately, that ties into some of the bigger mysteries of the story that we just still Oda cannot tell us about yet, and that did limit some of like that original impact. And like it's a shame because otherwise it's kind of like everything else is so perfect, and I think especially that after that original impact is gone, it's like, oh well, it could have been like foreshadowed or set up a bit better or stuff like that, and that kind of goes away because that's like the type of stuff you forget about more quickly, and the only thing that remains is just the narrative brilliance of it. That's like, I feel it's one of those things that will just get better in time, and I think especially as it gets around in the anime, it's just gonna be the type of thing that we're just gonna like enjoy it so much more even further.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I like the little bits of foreshadowing we kind of get towards like Gear Fifth as we build up to it, but I do agree that like he didn't overtly set it up earlier because, like you said, he needed to cover up the whole edition of Nika. Part of me also thinks, and this is something I've seen get
Like
brought
he
up.
could have. The only thing I say is like maybe if like when he introduced like Joy Boy in Fishman Island,
Yes,
that he already
right.
introduced the concept of Nika, right? But it's like I don't think that him introducing Joy Boy in Fishman Island even remotely said the possibility of the Gomu Gomu no Mi being different, you know?
I'm interested in like the fact that Nika doesn't seem to have been mentioned on the poneglyphs that Robin has read thus far, because you would think she would have brought his name up as well.
I mean, Joy Boy did, so
Right.
that's basically it.
Yeah, it's
but
like-
it is also kind of interesting that like Robin only run into Joy Boy after like a good bunch of poneglyphs. But
Yeah, it's
I
pretty
mean,
pretty far in. She hadn't encountered a mention of Joy Boy. So I wonder.
I'm pretty sure I have a reason. I'm pretty sure I have a reason why in my head, but that does tie into a theory of mine. That
Okay.
I do want to save up.
You want to say that? Yeah,
Yeah.
totally understandable. That is exciting though. So when that theory drops, actually let me know because
Yeah.
I'll have to check
I mean,
that out.
I am doing a follow-up to my True History like mega theory that I did.
Nice.
That I do want to release later this year, and I'm kind of like putting like everything into it. I'm kind of like trying to connect everything. So a lot of that kind of ties into the whole like Nick and Joy Boy stuff. So I kind of want to be careful what I'm saying yet, but. I do apologize kind of if I tiptoe around it.
Oh
but,
no worries at all. Hey, as someone who makes theories himself, I know sometimes you gotta keep it. Sometimes you gotta hold it until it's ready to come out to the world, and then you explain it in the full detail. Because you know some theories you can't get across the full. It feels almost like a waste to not get the full idea out the first time you say it. So I totally understand.
The only thing that I will say is that I think that people underestimate just how much of a protagonist Nika is to so many of like the mysteries of the One Piece world at large.
Interesting. I buy it. I mean, I think in general the whole story of One Piece is just a bunch of kind of retellings of the same story, and it's the story of Nika and Joy Boy and all that stuff. So I think that's everything that we've experienced up until now is actually going to have a direct tie into that. There's going to be a chain of causality that leads all the way from the Void Century directly into everything that we've experienced up until now. It's going to be all, I hope it's an all-encompassing flashback that just kind of hits on every point.
I will agree on that. I really hope we get like a beefy Void Century flashback.
Me too.
Please.
Me too. I would like to forget like about the Straw Hats for a little bit, you know? I'd like to I'd like to forget that we're like reading the same manga for just like at least like a few chapters.
I love that, you know, and I wish like Oda tapped more into that, you know, with like Oda and Piece of the Reverie. God.
Yeah, with Nolan.
I still mourned like the early death of the Reverie.
Yeah.
Or Nolan, like you said, yeah, good point.
Yeah, Nolan's another one. Like these self-contained kind of like stories that operate independently of the Straw Hats adventure are really nice. Odin's flashback was like multi chapter spanning flashback. That felt great to read. It was just such a breakaway from like the usual stuff, and we got so many new characters, and Like we got to see characters that we've only heard of in name finally actually have like interactions and talking and doing stuff, and it's gonna be. I mean, think about this, and then I want to actually pick the question out. It was so crazy to finally meet Vegapunk after all this time of just hearing about them. I can only imagine once we finally actually have a face to put to the name of like Joy Boy or Nika, that's gonna be quite the day. It's gonna be quite the day.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when the Nika chapter came out, right? And I instantly made the connection. That's obviously Joy Boy, right? And it's like, oh my god, like this is Joy Boy, right? And like that was so surreal.
Yeah, I mean, the realization.
I mean, it's just a silhouette, right? But like that's still something.
The realization, like once the connection gets made, and then you're like, oh, okay, now it's all coming together. Like, okay, this Nika guy, this Joy Boy guy, there's something going on here. And then with the Devil Fruit, I mean, already that's mind blowing. So I can only imagine once we actually get to the meat and potatoes of the actual history, it's going to be crazy. I'll pick the question in a sec. I do want to answer the $5 super chat from Terrible TJ. Thank you very much. He actually sent a prompt himself. Said most would agree that Nami and Robin are the two most important women in One Piece. Who do you think is the third?
Emu.
Yeah, if Emu's a woman, it would be definitely Emu. And if not, then I would probably have to say Luffy's mom, whoever that is, because
Crocodile.
yeah, Crocodile. All right, so the answer is Crocodile. TJ, thank you so much for the $5. I saw a good question up here. Let me see. Okay. All right. I like. There's a bunch of really good questions. Holy moly. All right, I'm gonna just pick. I really like a lot of these, so I'm gonna pick two. I'm gonna try and do two. So let's do this one. Who do you think is a minor character? And this is from Stefan Sali. Shout out to you. Who do you think is a minor character in One Piece that had the most significant story impact? Like a character, or rather, like a character you never thought he'd be so impactful. For me, it was the guy who asked Roger about the treasure. That's a funny one.
Do you mean like impactful in like a narrative sense, or like on a global scale sense within the story of One Piece?
That's a good point. I guess he means in a narrative sense, but I would guess like, I think the second sentence is what to go off of, like a character you didn't think would be impactful but ended up being like very impactful. Maybe
I remember when Oda kind of back in Dressrosa, when it was realizing weekly, they brought up continuously for a very long time this character of Corazon, Rocinante. And I kind of thought it's like, they kind of like told us like, wow, like Law loves him so much and it's meant to be so nice, and it's just like, okay, cool, but it's like, you can't like just tell me to love a character and I'll feel invested. And I remember like reading like the 3 chapters of Flashback, and I was like, oh my god, Rocinante!
Yeah, dude, that flashback killed me. I was bawling.
I was surprised how it went from like me not caring at all about Rocinante when he was talking to like Law and stuff, to like in just 2 chapters feeling like so emotionally engrossed about him. Like, actually like.
Same here, dude. I was like, what's with this guy? Like, why does he have like Joker makeup on? Like, what the hell's going on? Like, and then like he ends up being like one of the most lovable, touching characters in the entire story. Like a character that you just immediately connect with.
If you want to like really put a definitive answer, like as of the moment of their introduction, I assume we're talking, right? Like, we didn't think it. Yep. I mean, the obvious answer, Blackbeard, like literally. That's the best introduction of a main villain that any story has ever had.
That's a really. I was actually. I thought you were going towards the new chapter. I thought you were gonna say York. I was gonna be like, yeah, York had a pretty big impact on the story without me expecting that. But yeah, no, Blackbeard. No, Blackbeard is absolutely the pinnacle of that specific example of like a character you don't expect to be that guy, but he is. He is.
It's so perfect. It's so good. It's literally one of the best moments in the series.
Absolutely. I have rewatched
and I love that the deeper we go into the story, the more sense the quote of people's dreams never end just makes more sense.
Every chapter it starts to be more and more prevalent. Like it's actually It makes me wonder if that's just like a theme thing, or if Blackbeard
no.
truly had an understanding of the world at that point in time, or at least some of the world.
Want to hear a Gigabrain theory? Or
Yeah,
a
no,
Gigabrain
absolutely.
connection?
Go for it. Yeah, absolutely.
So you know how I presented the idea that like Blackbeard has like the fruit of the devil,
Sure.
you know?
Yeah.
And the sea devil Emu was the one who originally created the fruits, who showed people their dreams. And maybe that's kind of part of thematically as well why Blackbeard says that people's dreams never end. Because the devil is the one that propagates the dreams amongst the people.
Yes, and that's. And
I mean, that's like one part of the billion layers there's to that quote. I mean,
absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of ways that can be like extrapolated and used to like connect to all the various themes. But I agree with that 100% because I had this theory earlier. I released it at the beginning of the year about and I talked about it at Reverie, so I'm sure you were there for it already. But briefly, it was the theory that the world is powered by these dreams, and if dreams never end, then technically if you were able to power things with dreams, you would have a perpetual motion machine, essentially infinite energy, and the world is harnessing the dreams of its people, and this infinite energy is being stockpiled and hoarded by the world government, and Emu is basically feeding off the dreams of man. And I think that that energy is what's turned into the beams that erase the Lelucia and so on and so forth. And I think that's where I think like the people's dreams never end might actually directly connect into the
I just
energy.
think there's like so many layers to it. Because you know, like for example, it's like Blackbeard never sleeps. He cannot dream, but he can dream. He can daydream, and that kind of becomes like, you know, people's dreams and stuff. There's just so much we can like extrapolate from it.
Yeah, and then it makes you wonder how interconnected all of the oddities with Blackbeard are. It's like his knowledge, and then on top of that, like the fact that he can have multiple devil fruits. Like, is his knowledge of the dream stuff related to why he can do that? And he knew that going in.
He knew what the Lunaria were, for example.
Yeah.
At Amazon Lily, you know, he seems to know some stuff. You know, he's into archaeology.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I expect him to be a wealth of knowledge. Like, he has a wealth of knowledge that he just is not making it known right now. And I think that's one of the most exciting things about his character is what we don't know that he knows. Yeah.
Blackbeard is like the epitome of the "does he know" meme.
yeah, exactly. All right, what was the other one? I saw another really good one. Okay, here was a good one from JN.
Oh wait, did you give yours?
Oh, right, I didn't give mine. Well, Blackbeard. It's hard to be Blackbeard. I would have said. Okay. All right. If it turns out that Sanji actually has Lunarian DNA, then I will say that I did not expect King to be as important as he would have ultimately ended up being in that scenario. Like, if that's because like, man, like when I first saw King, I thought he was a cool dude. The whole like mystery race thing was interesting, but if it's like directly tying into Sanji, like the way Sanji fights, so like indirectly through some chain of events, I think that's pretty crazy to me, and that makes me kind of appreciate his character a little bit more. I've definitely come around on that idea. In the past, I remember when that first came out and people were like, Sanji has Lunarian DNA, and you know that's why he can Diable Jambe. And I remember at first thinking like, well, you know, there's a bunch of characters that can that set themselves on fire. You know, Luffy's done it too. Doesn't mean he was genetically experimented on or whatever, but over time I have warmed up a lot to the idea, and I think there's definitely a possibility that there is that connection. So I I'm pretty sure I'd have to give it to King, or honestly York, man. If this ends up blowing up into some crazy scenario and York gets her wish, then you know, I don't know where the next chapter goes, and no one talk about it, of course, in the chat, but I if this blows up out of proportion because of York's betrayal, then that is a character with her introductory panel, I was not prepared. I was definitely not prepared for this.
I really like the idea that the trader sort of has set up like this chain like effect of things, because Otherwise it's kind of like, why don't they like just leave the island, right? They could have easily like left the island, but it makes sense that they would underestimate the traitor and kind of like take things easy, because who could have called this happening? How could they have seen like things going wrong that badly? It's like, haha, here's like Bonnie chasing Vegapunk because it's funny, but like now suddenly that causes like a whole set of problems because they underestimated that, right? And I feel that's a very organic way to kind of create conflict.
No, that's a great point, and I think the way that Oda has been giving York an alibi up until now, and then giving us this twist. I mean, there's the complaint that it wasn't set up properly, and that we need a little bit more. Yeah, so like there is that, but there's also.
I didn't like that bit that much.
Yes,
because I do feel like you kind of have to go through like a bunch of logic hoops.
I agree.
To set it up that way. Yeah.
I remember my initial reaction was like, "This doesn't make sense." That's the thing I first thought of, and
the problem is that even now I think back at it, and it's just like it doesn't make sense.
I agree. I'm with you. Yeah, it's
But I think that narratively, it's a really cool concept.
What's funny?
It ties to the whole concept of people's desires and stuff. Yeah.
I have a prompt in here that we are basically prematurely answering, but the prompt in here was, who did it better, Kanjuro or York? And it's Kanjuro, easily, right? Like,
it's kind of interesting because, like I said, back in the day, like within the theory crafting scene at least, Kanjuro was like 100% obviously the traitor. And I know some people kind of got mad at me for saying this, but it really was obvious at the time because he literally was the only guy who could have done it. Like, because of all the circumstances, because of all the things. Whereas York is like the complete opposite, where like it was basically impossible to prove her because she had such an airtight alibi, right? That couldn't be really explained through basic logic. And so it's kind of interesting that, kind of like they're both polar opposites,
And the issue I take with her alibi being so airtight is the fact that in the same breath as York somehow being able to skirt 5 or 6 of the other most brilliant minds on the planet, somehow without getting any suspicion cast on her, completely dodging all suspicion whatsoever, and then in the same breath goes back and says, I'm going to become a celestial dragon, and believes in the possibility that the world government will actually grant her a title for
yeah, that's kind of what I said. It's like, surely like York has to have like some sort of blackmail to kind of like force the government into doing this. Like, surely she's not like stupid
assuming
enough to just believe the government at their word, but it's like
bro, like if she's just going off of a hope here, then I'm gonna have a hard time believing this person is a split off the brain of the smartest man in the world, the guy with the actual literal brain fruit.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the big thing. I also wanted to throw in there, who did it better than Kanjuro, and who did it better? Kanjuro did it better than York. Who did it better than Kanjuro?
Okay.
I say
who did it better than Kanjuro?
Klahadore.
Okay. True. No. But I'll say, who did it better than Kanjuro? Stussy. Stussy was an amazing traitor reveal.
That's great.
I really, really like that. And I love the thing that it's like, there was like the Stussy being the traitor. That was kind of like a reveal that, or Vegapunk's ally. But then Oda like layered it and like, oh, also, she's a clone of the Rocks Pirates and Miss Bunkin. Oh, and also, she has like a mythological like bad vampire succubus fruit. And it's like layering plot twists on top of plot twists to just hit all at once. Like, that's like, Oda is best, I feel.
You're right. No, Stussy is probably out of those 3 examples the best like double agent / traitor twist out of the 3.
Triple agent, literally, like
triple
that's
agent.
The best part, because it's like she was like introduced as a double agent, and then Oda just brought it back to be like a triple agent. I love this stuff.
What's really crazy about that setup is that Oda conditioned us to completely discount the possibility of it, because when we were introduced to Cypher Pole.
I predicted it.
Well, oh my god.
I specifically said that Stussy was the ally that Vegapunk was calling for.
In that case, all the props in the world to you. I had no idea that was coming. That caught me. That blindsided the shit out of me. And for me, like, my reasoning for like why I didn't even think about it was because like with Cypher Pole, when we're introduced to them, we're told that they are, we're introduced to them as undercover agents, as people disguised, as normal people, but they're secretly agents. We saw at Whole Cake the same exact situation with Stussy, and now it's like, you're like it didn't even cross my mind the possibility of like the intelligence agency responsible for doing all of this covert stuff has someone betraying them. Like that's just like
But that's
such
exactly why I loved it, right? It's like that's also what I thought about it. It's like it would be so narratively fitting if Stussy was a triple agent all along, and like would have bamboozled us like twice.
I no, it was awesome. I agree completely. That was that reveal was
Yeah.
that had the impact that the reveal of that type should. That sort of like
Yeah.
twist. Yeah. Absolutely.
I did also. I am a bit tooting my own horn, but I did also call that Stussy was probably an infiltrated agent back in Whole Cake Island.
Oh, so you're saying that she was what do you mean she was back like she was infiltrated into
No, okay. So when she was introduced as the Queen of the Pleasure Quarter,
Yes.
I brought up in an analysis that I feel she was based on the character of Matahari, in
Ooh,
part.
okay.
Like a bunch of things I mentioned the other day. So it kind of said like, what if she's kind of like a secret agent or something as well, and I like find out as well. So it kind of came back full circle, but.
Wait,
But
yeah,
to be
I mean,
fair-
if you called it all the way back then, guys, I think that earns a W in chat for that because that's impressive. That is impressive. That is
I apologize if I'm turning my own horn here a bit.
no. Hey, man, the way I see it is when you get it, if you get a theory right, I think you've earned the right. You put in the work to making the theory, then you earn the right to hold to display the W on the shelf, per se.
It's fun because like I feel like theory crafting ultimately is just about coming about
is.
cool ideas more than being right,
Of course. Now that at the end of the day, it is for the fun of it. But like sometimes you get an idea right, and it's cool. It's what's nice about it when you get it right. It shows you that that we're not just crazy, and that there's actual setup in the story that leads somewhere.
But like, I think it's almost more exciting when like you get it completely wrong. I know that just bamboozles you in the best way possible, but in a way
Yes.
that like makes sense. It's like, how did we not realize? you
Yeah.
know?
I keep saying it, but I want some of my theories to be like wrong. I would actually
Yes.
prefer if they were wrong because I would like to not have guessed it. That's
I mean,
the-
that's the
yeah.
reason why I kind of disliked the Contour theory, because I was right on the nose, and it's kind of like I kind of wanted a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, that all being said too, even the reveal itself could have maybe been a little bit more climactic when he did finally reveal he was the traitor.
Yeah, because it kind of just like, oh, he's the traitor. Cool.
Yeah, they're like
serious,
on
yeah.
the boat on the way to the island. It was the most. I'll be real, okay.
I
Side
like
note.
the moment, but it's like it could have been like placed in a better like instance.
Yes. Well, for me, it's like so the panel where he goes, "It was me," with the shadow cast on his face and all that. Amazing panel. That individual panel, phenomenal. The thing is, it was always, and I remember when I first read this, I thought this, it was always so bizarre to me that Kanjuro, out of all the times he could have chosen to reveal that he was the traitor to these guys, he chose to do it when he was alone on a boat with all the rest of them. And like, why not do it in a situation like when they're about to start the raid, like when they're sneaking in to get Kaido, and then you betray them, and then they're screwed because they didn't realize that the traitor was
I do think that though Kanjuro was like a better setup traitor, the execution of it after was like wasted in a lot of ways. Like
Yeah.
it didn't feel like he contributed too much after he was revealed to be the traitor.
I think his character existed just to be the traitor, and then once that
Yeah.
happened, it kind of stopped having a purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, Oda likes his he likes doing this traitor thing he's been doing lately. So
Yes.
this actually you brought this up in one of your videos. You were talking about the assassin. What was it, like the 16 holy bullets, and something related to like an assassin potentially? And is it
Well,
possible?
not necessarily. I think like you mean like the CP0 agent's going to kill like the Flamingo in Impel Down.
I could have
no,
sworn I remembered you like talking about the
Right.
potential for the 16
okay,
number
okay.
in Emu connecting to a betrayal.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think more specifically, I think that it's possible that Emu may have betrayed Joy Boy.
So so that's what I was getting at. So I think you
Because
could be on
here's
the
the
money
thing.
there because of the precedent that's being set with this
Yeah,
traitor
yeah.
thing.
And like the thing, it's like you have the God Country, right, with all the Lunaria, and they had this like, evidently the Lunaria had like this study into like the bloodline elements and all these things and all this technology that may have led to the invention of the Del fruits. it doesn't make sense for the human kingdoms to have created the devil fruits themselves. It makes more sense they were created on Joy Boy's side. So it's possible that Emu was someone on Joy Boy's side who was like, oh, I'm gonna like show you your dreams, I'm gonna like help you, make your dreams a reality and stuff like that. But then was like, psych, all your fruits are weak to water. I am the water. Now none of you can oppose me or something like that,
That
Maybe it's more complicated, but like on a very sort of simplistic level.
Oh yeah, no, on a fundamental level, that is how it could have gone. Because like it could be the devil's fruit is a figurative or like metaphorical deal with the devil there. So like in working with Emu or in trusting Emu, they made a deal with the devil, and then of course, as typical with deals with the devil, there's usually some heavy cost that you're not aware of until the deal is made.
It's been mentioned many times how eating a devil fruit it's like a gamble. It's kind of like a deal. So
you know what's funny about that? Lucci was like, "Yeah, it's a total gamble. What fruit? What power you're gonna get?" And then his fucking fruit, it's like a literal leopard. It's like it's the shape of a leopard.
It's like 100% intentional. And Lucci's just dumb.
Yeah, he's like secretly like a little bit dumb. Like he's like, "Yeah, I wonder what power."
What these do.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Kaku giraffe fruit is like it's a banana, or was it? It was not a banana. It was the other one.
Yeah,
Khalifa got
banana.
He got the banana, or was it Khalifa?
The Kaku one was the banana.
Okay.
And I believe back in like the day, some people thought that Kaku ate like a monkey fruit.
Oh, so they before his fruit was revealed, that was the theory about. Oh, okay.
Exactly.
Okay, that's actually, I would love to see a video, and I don't know, like how many of their situations like this there are, but maybe this would be a video for you to make sometime. But like forgotten theories. Yeah. Like theories that like people had based on the circumstances at that time. That would be a really cool video. You should.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a video of I've been wanting to for a while, but it's like I don't know if people like remember, for example, Bobbin.
Ooh, so there was a theory about Bobbin.
Yeah, there was a
lot of theories about Bobbin.
People were like convinced that Bobbin was one of the commanders.
Holy shit!
Like,
really?
Or that he was like commander level, that like Zoro was gonna fight Bobbin or something. I think he got like off screen by Vito.
Holy shit! No way! I wish I was there for that. I would have had a field day with that.
There's so many like old theories that are just like really funny. Kind of like about. There was like the theory of. Back during Dressrosa, where there's like one of the gladiators that has like a mustache. His name is Meadows, and people thought it was Kaido undercover.
Oh my fucking god!
And people like really believe that.
I love the week to week like theories that are based on just the last chapter and nothing else. And like in retrospect, you look back and you're like, how is it that we even came to this conclusion? But it's funny. No, I'm serious, man. You've been around long enough. Like you've had the experience. You should. I would recommend that. I would love personally. I don't know. Of course, it's up to you. But I would personally think that video would kill.
For a long while, it's just like it's kind of hard to how to form it and all. But...
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. It's just such an interesting thing to look back and like see what people were thinking back then.
I kind of wish that like the whole One Piece community was like more documented.
Yeah, right.
It's just one of those things like you had to be there, or like otherwise it's just hard to remember. Yeah.
Thankfully, we have like online forums, but a lot of those forums archive or like they just kind of like delete posts and they don't have like archives of the old stuff.
Yeah, a lot of them have disappeared. Like Ora Jackson was like the king of forums and completely vanished.
Yeah. Now I'm sure maybe you could use the Wayback Machine to like go there. There might be a way to like do that.
Some stuff was archived, but like some other not, basically.
All right, well, let's do another prompt. I'm enjoying the yeah.
Can I like disconnect for like just 1 second to like
absolutely
fix the mic?
Yeah, sure thing. Do your thing, man. Really enjoying this one so far, guys. I hope you guys are too. Artur is absolutely super cool guy. I love all this. I've been loving this. Also, the next prompt I'm looking at here, I'm interested in this answer. What's going on, Victoria Dodds? I'm not sure what that was.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. You're back.
Good. Sorry, I had like problems with the microphone. I don't know if I'll sound slightly different, but I hope I can like sound good enough.
No, you sound great. You sound great.
Okay.
We got another prompt. We got observation hockey this time. Do you think Roger's egg will play into the lore or plot of Egghead Island at all?
Into the lore of One Piece, yes. Egghead, no. Not necessarily. I mean, like, it could be, like, maybe alluded here, but I don't think that Egghead Island having an egg just automatically connects
Sure.
to the lore. It could be, you know, but it's like...
That's fair.
That seems like a bit of a weak connection to me so far.
Yeah, I more so was just thinking of, like, if, like, I was wondering basically how much of Egghead Island is natural and how much of it is Vegapunk's modifications. Like, if that egg was actually an actual, like, egg structure on the island that was then modified to have, like, punk records and all that stuff in it. Because
I think I saw some theories that, like, the head is, like, the egg is literally just his head cut off. But I do think, like, it's too big for it to be, like, really up to that. Because, like, even, like, when he was younger, it's not like the head got, like, that massive, you know?
It was looking pretty big, though. It was getting up there. It was getting up there. Oh, that's a good...
It is the structure, but...
That's a good point. Yeah, I had always thought that there is the small possibility that this is the connection. Because, like, if the island is named Egghead Island, and if it has this structure on it, there's, like, two ways it could go. Either Vegapunk named the island that way after he built the structure and so on and so forth, or the island already had some sort of, like, egg-like structure on it, and it already had this name, and then it was repurposed into the lab for Vegapunk. And in that case, if that were the case, the island with the giant egg whatever on it, you know, the only other place that I can think of that we've seen, you know, like a mysterious giant egg in the story would be on Roger's ship, which is, like, for me, I think the possibility's there, but do I think it's likely?
Inside the egg, there's, like, Joy Boy's brain or something.
Oh man, imagine if it's an egg that just has information, like it's a mini punk records. That would be funny. Yeah,
that could be possible, to be fair. Like, that's, like, a possibility we're not dismissing, but
maybe it was Baron Tamago.
There was one comment from a One Piece magazine that I don't know how much face value should be taken, but they mention that in the egg there should be a creature the size of at least a sea king, which is an interesting concept. But I want to go back and check
so that was from, like, what, like an interview? Magazine. Was like an interview or like SBS?
No, it was like an article within a One Piece magazine, but One Piece magazines are more dubious, so I do want to kind of like check it because they are, like, they do have some canon content, but it is kind of like far and in between, so I'd like to check that out. But still, it's an interesting kind of... But I love the idea that it's kind of like a mini punk records, and it's, like, literally just a bunch of information about the Void Century, you know, and that's kind of why, like, they kind of kept it tied to them.
Yeah, because, like, they realistically, it wouldn't be crazy to think that Vegapunk has interacted with the Roger Pirates. So, like, maybe he provided them with the technology with this egg thing. And he's like, yeah, you can store the data that you learned from the poneglyphs in here or something. I don't know.
True, but, like, maybe it's, like, something they found.
Or it could be, it could be something they found. Yeah, it could be, like, an ancient technology sort of thing. Yeah, that's a good point, too.
How far are you into One Piece Odyssey?
I haven't gotten around to playing it. I haven't played any video games in a while. I haven't gotten around to playing it. I got up to basically the end of Alabasta last time I played.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of missing out on in there, I'm presuming.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to elaborate further in this case, I guess.
Okay. You know what I'll do? I do actually plan, because I'm gonna be doing some more, like, video game streams. I plan on getting back to it once I'm done. I think we're gonna have to do another stream someday, and then we'll have the One Piece Odyssey conversation about that, because I think that'd be a good one to actually have, because I think a lot of people on YouTube, like, are more worried about, like, the manga and stuff, rightfully so. But I do think One Piece video games are a fun thing to talk about because there's so many of them and they're all over the place in quality. So I think, like, with Odyssey,
and Odyssey has actual lore in it.
Yeah, it's, like, actually relevant. Like, it has some relevance. It's like, yeah, it's actually probably one of the best One Piece video games we've gotten in a long time. But that being said, there's some other issues with it, but in terms of, like, the visuals, the story developments, and things like that, it did a lot. I think it did a lot more than, like, something like I don't know, like a Pirates Festival would, or like a Pirate Warriors, you know, would. But that's a whole other video game conversation. There's actually I think there's a prompt somewhere in here about that, so we'll let it roll around to that. We got an armament hockey question. Agree or disagree? It's okay to skip arcs.
No, never.
No.
Oh my god.
Sacrilege? Is that what would you say?
It's not that it's okay. Like, you're just gonna hurt so much of your reading experience by like missing so many things.
Yeah.
I do think that it would be nice to have like a future version of the One Piece anime that actually cut out like even some canon content and like made things like more straightforward without like, you know, like having to feature like everything, you know, but that would have to be like very carefully curated. You can't like just skip an arc.
Do you think, because the one that everyone points to with like a skippable arc when you're trying to get like a friend to read, they're like, oh, Long Ring Long Land, you can skip that. Like you can skip to like the end of it. Nope. I agree.
Not only does like Long Ring Long Land like introduce like Aokiji and like a lot of stuff, but it's like very thematically important for what it sets out for Water 7.
Yeah, no, I think it's important for Water 7, and I also just think I think it's gonna definitely come into like relevancy later. I think Oda is gonna. There's no way he doesn't bring the Davy back fight concept back, at least in some referential form. Like maybe we won't have another Davy back fight, but he's definitely gonna bring it up again in some important way, at least.
I also think like people like over dramatize the like Long Ring Long Land arc when it's like what, like 19 chapters.
It's not that bad.
It's not that bad of a deal.
It's not that bad. For some people, 19 chapters feels like a lot. So I can understand why they would be a little less enthusiastic.
Guys, 1,000+ chapters. Come on.
Yeah, right. It's like it's less than it's like a percent of the entire story. So
it's literally just 2% of the story.
Yeah. Skipping filler is fine in the anime though.
No, nah.
You don't skip anime filler? You don't skip it?
No, look, the anime filler for the Davy back fight is pure gold. I love it.
Oh, all right. I
respect
it.
The race with like the rollerblades, like that one's so much fun.
That's a hot take. I respect it. I respect it. I think the Davy back fight is elevated by being animated. I think it definitely helps. But in general with the anime filler, I mean, there's some whack ass filler episodes, man. Like you have like the one with Zoro being a babysitter in Water 7. You remember that one?
Yeah.
That will never leave my memory. I've seen that. I've seen that episode twice, and I think never again.
I will say though that there is a special circle in hell for Skypiea skippers.
I agree. You guys, if you disagree with this, come at me. Come at us. You do not skip Skypiea, okay? I know the Hattori or the Satori fight, my bad. I know the Satori fight is really boring, okay? The ball dragon and stuff is not the most captivating stuff ever. Yeah, I'm sure people aren't looking forward to that when they reread, or looking forward to the guards on Angel Beach, you know, doing the Hesso, all that. Okay, but the point is when you get to Noland, when you get to the end, it just makes it all so worth the ride. Do not skip Skypiea, folks. It's so good. It's so good. It's valid to have that as your favorite arc. It's truly like One Piece in a bubble. Next prompt. Artur, do you think it's straight... this is an observation hockey, by the way. Do you think it's straight off to Elbaf after Egghead is over, or are we going somewhere else first?
I mean, I wouldn't say that it's like guaranteed, but I do think it is the most likely option, the most likely percentage chance at the moment, because not only is it just something that we kind of have to get to, and especially as like the developments in the world are just blowing up in such a way that it's just, you know, like the final war is gonna be fairly imminent, all things considered. But there's just so many like plot elements that lead to Elbaf, right? Like Vegapunk has gone to Elbaf and has met Soul there, you know, like there's a possibility that there's going to be like a final road poneglyph there, but there's also the possibility that like all the information of the Void Century is in Elbaf, you know? So it's kind of like, I mean, like all the research rather, I mean, from like the people of Ohara is there, and like though Vegapunk has memorized a lot of it, like it could be a great opportunity if we actually get there and we get to find out about it on our own.
Yeah, the crazy thing is about Elbaf is that there's not that many generations between the giants that are alive right now and between the ones that were alive in the Void Century, because they live a very long time. So,
I mean, relative, there's a few, but yeah.
yeah. I mean, but still, overall, Giants do live long. So like the generational gap between the Void Century for them and now is probably. They didn't have to play as much telephone, is what I'm trying to say. Like their information, their records of the Ancient Kingdom are probably more well preserved than other places.
Yeah, but like I don't think that Elbaf has many records of the Ancient Kingdom to begin with, aside from like a couple poneglyphs, perhaps.
Sure.
But they do literally have the entire library of Ohara.
They do.
And I think that's like the big thing.
Shout outs to the Library of Ohara, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I have to agree with you here. I think we're gonna have to go to Elbaf at this point, especially with the setup that's happening now with Shanks. As a matter of fact, I have a video coming out tomorrow that's going to actually develop on this point, and this actually connects into the Davy back fight connection we were talking about. But I won't give away the whole goose right now. But I will just say I do think. The Elbaf Davy back fight concept between the Red Hair Pirates and the Straw Hat Pirates, I really believe in it more now than I used to before. And I made a theory saying that. Of course, I'm not the only one to say it, but when I said it the first time a year ago, I was kind of on the fence, yeah, this is a possibility, this can happen. Now I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but I really do feel more strongly about it, and I think the biggest reason is because of the recent chapter where we saw one of the ships docked at Elbaf. It had a fox as its figurehead. There was a captain that ran up and hugged Shanks, and he had a Jolly Roger on his hat that looked suspiciously like the one that Luffy drew for Foxy. So the possibility that Foxy learned about the Davy back fight from Shanks, and this is some sort of old Elbafian tradition, maybe. These are things that
I'm gonna say that I hate to be the particular here, but I really do not even remotely understand the Shanks Davy back fight theory at Elbaf. That's just
really?
one I don't connect with at all. Yeah.
Okay, so if it would help, could I give you a little bit of my reasoning for why?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. So with Elbaf, I think that Elbaf doesn't seem like they have some sort of evil overlord that's ruined the country that Luffy is going to have to come and save. Elbaf seems to be pretty well secure under the protection of Shanks already. They seem to be they seem to be doing well on their own. So there's not really a political issue that Luffy has to resolve when he gets to Elbaf. I think it would more so be some sort of drama that would resolve between characters and misunderstandings and conflicts. But if Shanks is there at Elbaf, and let's say they do end up all converging there, symbolically it fits because it's the land of giants. Now Luffy has achieved the metaphorical giant stature of being able to stand up to Shanks' shoulders in that regard. And between these two, I don't know if I would really see them having a confrontational fight where they're actually trying to hurt each other or whatever. What I think is more likely is it would be some sort of friendly competition, like we kind of saw in Film Red with Uda and Luffy, how they had friendly competition over various things. I think the nature of Shanks and Luffy, their relationship, would kind of boil down to something very similar, where it's a friendly game, but of course, in this case, it's over something very important. Let's say the Last Road poneglyph or something. Because of that, I don't think the Davy back fight is the silly Davy back fight. A true Davy back fight is not what we saw with Foxy. And I think that if this is true, and Foxy was this entire time a member of the Red Hair Grand Fleet, and he learned about the Davy back fight from Shanks. The Davy back fight that Foxy ran was a shittier version of the actual thing, and the one that is actually an old pirate tradition, or maybe an old Elbafian tradition, or something along those lines, goes back a long time, would be something that Shanks could actually uphold, and that would involve maybe a more serious duel. It would be friendly, but it would still be a duel. It would still be a one-on-one fight where they have to I
think it's just that Oda has kind of ruined the image of the Davy back fight through Foxy already. That it'd be hard for people to take it more seriously,
I think there's a way to save it, and I really think it's by having someone that's not a bumbling idiot run the show. If you have, or here's an alternative, and this is something I brought up in the theory as well, but if the Davy back fight, let's say, were to be fought over something like a poneglyph, right? One of the road poneglyphs, that might attract a third party. And there's an interesting third party in the form of the Cross Guild being run by Buggy, And Buggy with the carnival setting makes a lot of sense for running a Davy back fight sort of situation. So if you have a three-way Davy back fight between the Cross Guild, the Red Hair Pirates, and the Straw Hat Pirates, then everyone's fighting over the last road poneglyph or something, you have an interesting scenario which ties into the rest of my theory. And I'll just say this: the basic theory is that Mihawk was once a red hair pirate, and I think what would really bring it all, full picture, bring it all together is they have the Davy back fight. Buggy, being an idiot, bets Mihawk on one of the rounds, loses him to the Red Hair Pirates or something, and then the original crew dynamic of the Red Hairs are complete. And then we have these like one-on-one duels between Shanks and Luffy, Mihawk and Zoro, Usopp and Yasopp, and it all happens in the Land of Giants, a clash of titans. I think that like symbolically would be so impact. Like I would be losing my mind if we saw all those happen back to back.
True. I think the way I see it is just I don't think that Elbaf needs to be like this big kind of dramatic clash arc, and I feel especially after Egghead it would be nice to have like a purely like Zoe-like arc where it is kind of like more chill. But I mean, to be fair, like I didn't like disagree with it, for example, but I feel like we didn't have enough evidence to really connect Shanks with Elbaf, because people were like, oh, he's kind of got like a ship that kind of looks a bit like a Drakkar. But that was kind of like it. But it turned out to be true. So, like, I could be totally wrong again. So,
yeah, and
I can make it work. I'm absolutely over there.
And to play off of that, like, shorter Zoe-like arc thing, so, like, right now we kind of have, like, the parallel to Sabaody, and we have, like, Sabaody kind of reflecting itself in Egghead a little bit. Well, after Sabaody, where was the next location we went to? It was Amazon Lily, which had a sort of arena tournament-like structure to it at one point, where Luffy was, So, like, and that was also a jungle environment of, like, an ancient tribe of people. So, like, maybe this is going to be a similar situation where after the Sabaody explosive, like crazy, everything's going to shit, Straw Hats get separated or whatever, maybe the parallel post time skip would be we have this happen with Egghead, and then the wind down from the craziness of Egghead is a more lighthearted kind of friendly competition arc between, finally having the main characters catch up to their role models, and once the torch is passed through this competition, then they can go and complete the journey and get the One Piece and everything after that. I think that might be... Because I think before they find the One Piece, maybe Shanks would have to pass that torch to Luffy, right? Because Luffy's primary goal was to surpass Shanks before finding the... Like, he wants to surpass Shanks and find the One Piece, but specifically he said, I'm going to build a crew better than yours, and I think that's first and foremost what he wants to do.
True, yeah. It's kind of something that I also just do wonder when it would make sense to kind of like have Shanks come into it, and I feel like it almost makes more sense for Shanks to get into all these things by the final war, and it all just kind of comes to like a single climax, then him like dealing with Shanks at like Elbaf, and then we just move on into the like final war, like...
Yeah, no, that's... I mean, that's totally valid. That's totally valid.
Like, literally right now, we have this very interesting setup where, like, we have 3 islands, Wither, Elbaf, and Egghead. And we have each of the Supernova going against Blackbeard, Shanks, and the government. Law and Kid are probably gonna lose, I feel, but Luffy, Luffy's instead kind of focused on the government, but I think, like, these 3 sort of, like, quote-unquote villain forces, even though Shanks is still, like, a good guy, will sort of converge all at the same time in the final saga. So instead of, like, dealing with each of them, like, one by one, I think it's gonna be this thing where, like, all of it is just gonna come together. And I feel like Oda's just setting that up right now by establishing these 3 forces and just, like, building up the final saga that way. That's kind of how I see it.
That's a totally fair take. I mean, I really think there's a lot of ways he could take it. For me, I want to go with the reason I like the idea is because it does tie a bow on 3 different character arcs in one fell swoop, where we get Zoro and Luffy and Usopp meeting the person they've been playing catch up with this entire time, and that all gets resolved in a short, like all in kind of like one spot instead of spreading it out, which the only reason I like that is just because I know that Oda is trying to get to the end right now, like, and this is maybe another question or a topic to have, but to have a talk about, but is Oda having to decide now? Like, is it getting to the point where he's realizing how long the story is and how much he has ahead of him? Is it getting to a point now where maybe he's starting to have to pick and choose what he can fit in and what he can actually get to? which may have led to like some of the unresolved feelings we have from Wano and things like that.
I mean, he did say, for example, that he kind of merged the Sanji and Whole Cake Island arcs into one, for example.
Oh, really? So were those intended to be separate originally?
Yes, in a very like original like old setting, but he said that he kind of fused them together into one because he said that he doesn't have enough time to do like as many arcs as he would like to, so he has been like combining some ideas into one at this point. We don't know if he has done it further, but you know,
interesting.
that's
okay.
kind of something that like I think kind of lends to what you say. But I don't think at the same time that Oda is gonna like rush the story in any way. Like I feel like some people think like, oh god, Oda's just trying to get to the end. Like I think that Oda wants to take his time still.
So then, do you think it's possible, just in this hypothetical scenario, maybe the issue is that it doesn't take place on Elbaf. Maybe this hypothetical Davy back fight would take place or something like on Laugh Tale, right? Like if Shanks is to come in at the end, maybe it's just that Elbaf is like too early to do something like that.
What?
Yeah, oh, okay. They just stop everything for a contest.
Yeah. Like Emu gets in on the Davy back fight as well.
Yeah. If I had to guess, I think Shanks's relationship with Luffy is going to come, like its arc is going to be completed prior to the final Mary Joie stuff, and that's just my guess. I think Mary Joie is going to be all about Dragon, and I feel like Dragon is going to be to the Mary Joie as Whitebeard was to Marineford. He's going to be.
Well, I agree, but I think that all of it is going to probably converge into one.
That's
like,
fair.
big
That's
mega
fair.
Arc. And I think that goes again into the idea that like Oda is kind of like merging arcs a little bit, you know, and merging all these concepts. And I think that Oda already is establishing this like right now with kind of like, you know, like, I mean, even Dragon is supposed to kind of make his move soon, hopefully. But you know, we see all these kind of three parties converging into one, and I think that could work real well. I just don't really see much of a point of Luffy giving back the hat to Shanks and kind of solving that thing before like the end of the series, really.
True.
Because I feel like that's kind of the point where like when Luffy achieves his dream, you know, or he's like on the cusp of achieving his dream.
You think that scene where the hypothetical scene where he places the hat on the gravestone, you think that is a possibility?
Yeah, it's a complicated thing with Shanks dying. It's kind of like it's so obvious that I kind of wish Oda would do something different, but you know, who knows? But yeah, it would be kind of like weirdly cursed if like Luffy gives back the hat to Shanks in Elbaf, and like the rest of the series he just doesn't have a hat for like all the final war. Right?
He's just wearing nothing. Yeah, that'd be a little weird. It would be weird. And they're calling him Straw Hat the whole time still. Like, yeah,
it's like Straw. Look at Luffy. Black Hero Luffy.
All right, let's do a couple more and then we can wrap things up because I don't want to keep you for too long. I know it's getting late over there for you.
Got like very tied with this question particularly.
No worries. I've been when I'm getting like tied into all these like answers and we're just having these long trains of discussion. I think that's a good thing. That means we're actually we're getting places. We're enjoying ourselves. So I've been liking the stream so far. I do have to get back to editing and stuff after this, so we'll do a couple more and then we'll close it out. So the next prompt we have is armament haki, CP9 or CP0. Which are you enjoying more so far?
That's a bit of a rough question because I do remember when CP9 was like when CP0 was like properly formally introduced in Dressrosa. I felt like a bit betrayed because like they always kind of hyped up like CP9 as the strongest cipher boss. Yeah. Like now Lamal is like these guys were like even stronger than that, you know. But
yeah,
they're
the extra secret cipher ball.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah. I mean, I think conceptually, especially since they tie to, you know, the Celestial Dragons and Emu and all that stuff, I'm a lot more fascinated about CP0 currently. But like narratively, obviously CP9 just holds a more special place within the story of One Piece, right? I will say this though, that CP0 has the better drip. For sure.
Yeah, so that's a point that I was actually thinking about bringing up was like they just got they are much better designed in terms of like the trip is so fire, man.
Like I love that like they are such like perfect amazing secret agents that it doesn't matter that they dress in all white because people will just not see them because of how stealthy they are or whatever.
Yes, and one thing I like more about CP0 than CP9 is that a lot of CP0 has still kept their mask on. They still remain faceless. And to me, that's a little bit more interesting. Like characters like Guernica and you know, I can't remember.
Joseph and
Yeah. There you go. That's what I was trying to remember. Yeah, so like those characters, like they got the mask on, and it adds an era of like ominous. I don't know, like
yeah,
just like foreboding
like
when they're on
masks,
panel, you know?
yeah, because like masks are scary because you cannot perceive the emotions of people
Yes.
who wear them, right? So that kind of creates the like, ooh.
Yeah, and they also go out of their way to pick like the creepiest looking, like weirdest looking masks possible. So, you know, like
Though I do feel like, for example, in Guernica's case, where like his mask seems more like face paint or something, doesn't quite have like that same like appeal because you can't
that's
see
true.
very clearly the emotions on his face. But yeah,
Guernica was very expressive, all things considered. He's one of my favorite Cypher Pole designs. Considering how minor he was, he probably had less screen time than Nero. If I'm not misremembering that, like he really didn't have that much panel time.
No, Guernica does have a fair amount of screen time because he had like all the thing with like the the goal board and like
Yeah.
all
Like
that
with
stuff,
the
but-
chessboard and like or
Goal,
like
goal.
goal, yeah.
But
I'm
I will
uncultured.
say that Oda is a bit foul for letting him live.
Yeah, man, he should have died.
did.
I would have liked this character more if he actually went out like a champ.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, him kind of like lowering the hat was just like, whoa, that was very close.
yeah. All right. We got. I guess this is a good one to end on. We got another Conqueror's Haki prompt, another big one. All right. So this will be our last one for the day. Artur, remove a character from One Piece to make it a better story. You want to start with that, or you want me to start?
You start.
Okay. I need a second. Hold on. I'm trying to think of a character. I'm trying to think of a character that would make the story better by plucking them
Kind of
out.
like, do I give a serious answer? Or do I give like a joke answer?
Whatever you feel like giving, because you know what, the joke answer might do better in the poll in the Conqueror's Clash show. So, what character makes the story better by removing them? You might hate me for this. People might hate me for this. I'm gonna be honest. I'm just gonna be real. Yamato. I think Yamato gets removed from the Wano arc and it's better.
No, I have
Really?
to disagree with that.
Okay.
I do think that the only thing we need is remove Yamato constantly asking to be a Straw Hat.
That's a
And
big part of it. That's a big part of it. I think that makes the arc, it bogs the arc down so much. And my issue
But
is
if you
that
remove Yamato and like some parts of the arc do suffer, I feel.
Yeah.
Without Yamato.
yeah, well, there's definitely some parts of the arc that are structured around Yamato that like require Yamato to exist for that part to work. But I could easily have seen any of the other scabbards taking Yamato's place in terms of being Momo's like protector or guardian, you know? Like that could have been a good opportunity for one of the other scabbards, like, you know, Denjiro, to get some more spotlight, especially considering that he was one of the first followers of Odin alongside Kinemon. It was them two in the beginning. So if Kinemon is like Momo's secondary father figure, then Denjiro, I feel like, had a little bit of I had a little bit of expectation for him. You know,
I could like in equivalent to this. I don't know if this is a bit of a cop out, but I feel like half the scabbards
yes.
should have probably gone out, and make the scabbard like a more like core team of characters, or like the 9 guys.
Yeah, like maybe like four guys or something, like 5 guys. Yeah, that'd be a lot easier to get behind. Something like the 7 warlords are a lot easier to follow because they span the entire series and we're introduced to them one at a time. Oda takes the time to carefully introduce each one's design and personality and their powers and differences. The scabbards, we got them all just dumped on us all at once, and then we kind of were like, he was just kind of like, all right, now you just got to like care about these characters. But I think if you knock out a bunch of them, it definitely helps. If I had to, I mean, well, I gave mine. I gave Yamato. What's yours? Would you say it's a scabbard, or would you name one specifically?
It's complicated because it's like, man, it's like One Piece is perfect. Like how can I like remove any characters? Like remove any character, like the whole like thing, you know, like falls down. You know, it's like
True.
like I saw some people, for example, say like Big Mom, and like yes, Big Mom has like narrative problems, but like remove Big Mom and like so much of it just crumbles apart. You know.
Yeah. What about I'm trying to think of like some really like some not really likable characters.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking like Carbo or something like that, but like Carbo like adds narratively to the story. But you could argue that's like Carbo is gonna make big problems for the Straw Hats with his knowledge of the ancient weapons.
Yeah, depending on where his character goes, it can be an either or. He's either an extremely important character, or he ends up just being a like a waste of panel space. Like if he doesn't end up being important, then I would say Caribou is one of the ones.
I feel like there's like specific character traits that would make like the story better by removing them. Like honestly, like Sanji's whole thing with woman, if it was like better like integrated, like, you know, it worked better. But like, should I say like One Piece would be better without Sanji? No, like that's ridiculous, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. When it comes to that, and I feel like this goes for gags in general in One Piece, is there's some gags that are like they're like the Sanji like perv Sanji jokes can be funny when they're done sparingly and they actually like make sense in the given situation. If it's like we get a Fishman Island thing where he turns to stone because he almost dies because of like that one gag, it's a little bit much. I think that's the thing. It's like
there's the whole like SBS question there was about like Oda talking about fan service in One Piece, right? And I do think there's like a good like there's a good intention behind that, but then you have like Sanji like sneaking into the women's bathrooms to like peep on them. It's like, God.
Oh no, yeah, it's really weird because in the beginning his character was introduced as a guy who he was very fond of women, but he did it with a little bit more class.
Exactly.
And he tried to win over women by cooking for them.
He went from like being flirty to being like literally a sexual harasser.
Yeah. He was like flirty. He would like cook for them. He'd like say nice things. He'd compliment them. That was pretty much the extent of it. And then we'd kind of just make fun of him for being a simp because he'd always just get rejected anyway. But then it became like the whole like I like women a lot thing became his entire like joke for a large part of the story later. And yeah, you're right. Yeah, he does kind of it borders on, you know, sexual harassment with Sanji. Yeah. So
exactly.
I would take that out if I could. Yeah.
But that's the thing. Is like, say, like I can't put it as like Sanji should be removed from the story because that would be like such a massive loss.
What about Absalom?
I mean, Absalom, yeah, but I feel like that's like such a minor thing because it's mostly just like what he did to Nami and stuff. That's kind of like the stuff that I would remove. But it's like Absalom feels like a bit of a cop out because I feel like removing from One Piece and like not much changes, you know? Yeah,
I mean, would you say it's a net positive for the story though if Absalom doesn't have his panel space like that?
I mean, yeah, because like Absalom. Okay, here's
terrible
the thing.
Character.
You remove Absalom. You remove Absalom, you remove Sanji's dream to peep into women's bathrooms, and you remove the Wano bathroom scene.
And then you fix the issue with Sanji there.
It's a perfect like chain effect.
Okay, so there you go. That's actually a good one.
Sure,
I love. Yeah. Okay, so all right. So I'm gonna do Yamato, and I'll give you Absalom. This one I think might be a closer poll.
Chad, I'm just gonna say I'm gonna hate you if you actually pick Yamato or Absalom.
All right, let's see. Yamato, Absalom. All right, let's run it. And one thing I have to remind myself to do is announce the actual results, because last stream I didn't I forgot to announce the results of the polls. Let's see what we got going on right now.
Are the polls only for the Conqueror's clashes and not the others?
Yeah, it's only for like basically I kind of wanted to like have a representation of like when two great pirates like they do the Conqueror's haki clash and they're not even touching when they're like trying to hit each other. And that like sort of back and forth of the lightning is the pole bar is the moving bars of the pole. You know,
the takes are so bad they're not touching each other.
They're not touching each other. They're terrible. Oh God, I can't even look. Like, yeah,
it makes people faint.
Like people start knocking out. All right, well look, Artur, my friend, it looks like you have absolutely demolished me on both Conqueror's clashes. Absalom is at 66% right now. I'm gonna let the votes roll out more, but I love that you guys are showing the love. Also, just your general hate for my takes, Chad. I see you. I appreciate it, guys. Very cool. Very cool. Let's see. Absalom's role was to job off screen so that Shiryu could go invisible now. LOL. Yo, Stefan, that's a interesting point, that he's basically just a plot device for Shiryu. If you remove Absalom, you do remove Shiryu's, well, not really. I mean, you could just get the fruit a different way.
Yeah, but maybe Shiryu gets like an actual cooler fruit.
Yeah, right. I guess.
Because that was such a like a wild like turn that like a lot of people were like, oh, he's totally gonna get like Joseph's fruit, and then like Zoro will have to cut diamonds and stuff. But it's like, no, the invisibility fruit. That makes like a really interesting matchup against Zoro. But
it really depends.
We'll take that.
It depends on like if you can detect it with or with observation haki, right? Like, can you actually detect? I would presume not. That would be the worst devil fruit ever if it can just get canceled out by like basic observation. But like if that invisibility,
that would I imagine it has to be more, because otherwise that would that'd be really silly.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think I would assume that the invisibility, like haki, or at least it's very difficult for you to use haki to detect it. So like Shiryu versus Zoro having to cut something he can't even see will be a very interesting matchup. All right, well, yeah, looks like we're closing in on 50 votes. This is a landslide. Absalom is the character that we removed from One Piece to make it better. I'll concede to that. I think that's a very fair answer. To be fair, I did suggest it. I was the one that suggested it. So, all right, appreciate it. Very nice, Artur. You have completely decimated me as a conqueror today, my friend. And I gotta say, I really appreciated this conversation. I thought it was very fun. I greatly appreciate your insight, and I think this was genuinely. I learned a bunch. There's some stuff today that I didn't even know. Like, for example, like the whole cake being like combined arcs and stuff like that. Like, those are things that we, like, the average One Piece fan, even the average like serious One Piece fan that like takes this stuff seriously and like reads online. These are things that even they might not know. So I think it goes without saying that you are an invaluable resource to the community, and that we all thank you very much for being here today. So.
Thank you, man. And I really, really appreciate that you made time for me earlier to get on the streaming time.
Absolutely, man. Anytime. Look, everyone in chat, like I try my best to foster a community of everyone that's like chill and understanding. So all I had to tell them was that, like, hey, Artur's running a little behind. And everyone was cool with it. Like we're not gonna get upset about that sort of thing. I definitely wouldn't. I understand how it goes, man. I've been there. I'll be honest. Like I woke up today kind of feeling like crap. So like part of me is like part of me sometimes like when yeah, it's like I'm telling you, I understand how it is. Sometimes you just you're not feeling well, and but yeah, you have our support, man, and I'm really, really happy to have you on here, and I appreciate you making the time for me, because I'm in reality I'm the little guy here. I invited you on, and you took the time to be here today and to spend a couple hours actually talking to me about One Piece. So thanks again.
I know I remember you asked me this thing like way back in New York. I kind of told you, like, when I can find time, and I'd love to kind of come on. So
yeah, man. Hey, when the what was I gonna say? The Odyssey, when the One Piece Odyssey talks are ready to happen, we will have that talk, certainly. So, but yeah, guys, everyone, if you aren't already, I don't know why you wouldn't be, but go subscribe to Artur. Go check him out on Twitter. He drops great informational tweets on One Piece all the time. Also check out the website that he has, the libraryofohara.com. Is that correct? That's the link?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so go check him out there. Check out his channel, guys. Thank you all for being here for another Conqueror's Clash. With that, let me see if I can find, there's a slide somewhere in here. Yeah, there we go. Subscribe to Artur, as it says on the prompt there. And guys, thank you all for being here. Thank you for the donations. I see some people wishing you a happy birthday, Artur. I'm assuming it's not your birthday. I think Parvision, it looks like Parvision's trolling you in the chat there. All right, guys. Well, Artur, happy birthday, guys. Thank you so much, and have a great
thanks for the good wishes,
rest
guys.
of your day. Take it easy, everyone. See you later. All right.
Funnily enough, I am literally 6 months away from my birthday, so we could not be further away to the day. Literally.
Yeah. Well, we're